Grateful for the opportunity to be gathered today. We thank you for everyone who is here watching physically here and those who are watching virtually. We thank you for knowledge that will be imparted on so many people today. Thank you for the words that will give life to businesses, that will give life to ideas that will come out of these sessions today. We thank you for the learnings that will come out today. Thank you for every single person who will be involved in speaking today. Thank you because out of their mouth will flow the right things for the season, for every single person here today in Jesus' name. We thank you, our Father, because you are glorified and you're exalted. Thank you because months from now, years from now, many will trace the global and profitable structure of their businesses to today's event in the name of Jesus. We give you praise, we give you thanks in Jesus' name. So right now I'll call on the head of Covenant Capital, Mr. Oluwaseun Fadiora, for his opening remarks. Sheun, please let's give him a round of applause, please.
Hello? Okay. Good morning, everybody. You guys are not responding now. Respond small now. Are you guys tired? Is it the rain? Okay. Good morning, everybody. My name is Oluwaseun Fadiora, and I'm the head of the department. It's such a wonderful opportunity to lead the department, and I also would like to welcome everybody. So I actually prepared a short speech for this so that I don't speak off point. Okay. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Covenant Capital Tech Fair 2021. The theme is the Innovators Journey. We have in our midst seasoned panelists in the tech world, people who have walked the talk, and they still are, people who have wholeheartedly committed to sharing their innovators' journey with us today, thereby giving us a solid pedestal to build on. I want to say a big thank you to our panelists. They're actually inside. They'll be joining us shortly, who are already here. God bless you so much. The last 24 months has been a challenging time, and I'm sure it has challenged most of us. It's questioned us, it's pushed us to evolve as a people. You know, it's so unimaginable to think of a world without technology. How many of us remember what it was like in 2018? How many of us actually use Zoom before 2020? If you use Zoom before 2020, can I see your hands? Okay, so you can see that the world has actually changed. I didn't know of Zoom until the pandemic, started. Of course, I knew of Cisco WebEx and some other ones, but I'd never heard of Zoom until that time. Now, if you look at it, the world as we have it has changed, and there is no way we can go back to that world. In fact, one of the guys who's supposed to pitch here today is going to be pitching virtually. And the reason for that is because he couldn't get a flight. He's based outside Lagos, and he couldn't get a flight. So he'll be pitching virtually today. Now, one of the things I've also learned, in doing a research about this is that the definition of innovation is about finding new methods or ways of doing things. Sometimes it's about existing things, or sometimes something that is altogether new. So if you look at it, we've been having meetings before now, and that was the concept behind Zoom. Before now, you would need to sign up before you are able to use a particular service. And Zoom came with, look, just share a link. Click on the link and you join the meeting immediately. So you see that has changed the way things are. Now, the innovator's journey is particularly dear to me because I'm also an entrepreneur. And being in business, I've had my fair share of the various stages in business. I've been happy. I've been depressed. I've been hopeful. Excited sometimes, especially when the checks are flowing in. How many of us have had that feeling? Exactly. When the checks are coming in, you are flowing, But I've also had the fair share of when there are no checks, when you're thinking of payroll. How many of us have had that payroll issue? Raise your hand now. Look, the whole idea behind this event today is for everybody to be able to place themselves exactly where they are in the innovators journey. Because without placing yourself there, all these guys that are going to be speaking today, we expect them to speak from the heart. And if they're speaking from their heart, you can be sure that they will tell you the truth. Some of these things are things that you will not find, people would come out and wholeheartedly tell you. And that's why it's a Q&A format that we're doing today. Now, for me, I hope that after we have listened to them, it's not just theories, but you'll be able to hear yourself when they are speaking, and then you'll be able to learn one or two things that can lead to your quantum leap. What did they do differently? What have they done, in their world that has made them to succeed? And they will also share their challenges, like I said. Now, we're also going to be listening to pitches from 4 finalists and interesting stuff that they've come up with, and the panelists would also be helping us judge. Now, to end, I would like to say a very big thank you to the core team that worked on this. I can tell you authoritatively that you can spot them, they are wearing something similar to what I'm wearing. If you see them, give them a hug, for me. Sending chats at 3 a.m., responding to chats 2 a.m., they've been wonderful, and I would like us to give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. You guys have been awesome. Lastly, and most importantly, I would like to appreciate our chief host today, and the person of Pastor Koju Oyemade, for having the vision. Yeah, you can clap. Because this is really, really all about the vision he had to be able to do something for SMEs, and it has gone from just providing loans to us having events like this, and talking to people. And I would like to really say a big thank you to Pastor for the opportunity. A famous quote reads, "Innovation does not just come by giving people incentives. It comes from creating an enabling environment where their ideas can connect." We have created the environment, and I dare say, the ball is in your court. So even for the guys who are pitching today, the most important thing that I think they will take out of this place is the opportunity to be mentored by these guys who have gone ahead. Some of them, to get them here today, was based on relationship and the favor of God. That's all I can say. So if you are pitching and these guys can hear you out and can give you feedback, I think it would help you. So I'd like to say thank you all for coming, and I hope and I pray it's a wonderful event for everybody. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheol. Next, we'll be having our keynote speaker. She is Tomilola Adera. She'll be coming shortly. Our keynote speaker, like Sheol just mentioned, the face of how we do things and how we work, how we make money has materially evolved. I would say that since April last year, things have materially changed. I recollect when, and I still cannot forget, February 2020, we came into the office one day and we had fumigated the office over the weekend. And we came in on Monday morning and we were still smelling the fumigants in the office. And I remember telling my head of HR, I said, I think we should release people to go home today, that this stench of this thing is really serious and people are going to be sneezing and all. And I remember my HR said, Onyebuchin, there is no way we can work from home. Fast forward to April 30, 2020, pandemic, lockdown, and we have been working from home. And I tell you that we've worked from home till Friday. We were still working from home. And nothing has changed. In fact, business has been better. And there's less wear and tear on my body, moving on the roads, flying the whole of Lagos and all. How we interact with clients have changed. Everything has changed. So what I'll just say is that the world is evolving today, so don't be left behind. A lot of thoughts will come today. A lot of ideas will come today. So just plug in today and be part of it. Like I mentioned earlier, we're on 3 platforms. We're on Twitter, Covenant Center. We're on YouTube, the Covenant Capital YouTube channel, the Innovators Journey. And we're also on Facebook as well, Covenant Christian Center. So please talk to those who are not here, send them messages, put on your social media platforms. So right now I'll be inviting our keynote speaker. She's Tomilola Adejana. She's the Chief Executive Officer of 5554 Technologies Incorporated, popularly known as Bankly. Bankly is a Nigerian fintech company with the core mission of digitizing cash to the unbanked and enabling the informal sector to grow income safely and simply. Tomi started her career as a financial analyst in a boutique investment firm in Africa and proceeded for her MBA at SP Jain School of Global Management in the Dubai, Singapore, and Australian campuses. Prior to Bankly, she was the part of the founding team of a micro-lending tech startup where she developed and managed products such as Smart Credits, a micro-lending product, and she also worked at AgroMall, solving access to credit within the agricultural value chain. Since commencing its operations in 2019, Bankly has gained traction in bringing financial services to the unbanked and currently has more than 15,000 banking agents nationwide and over 30,000 customers. Tomi is the winner of the Innovating Justice Challenge in The Hague 2020. She's also the winner of the George Bernard Shaw Unreasonable Person Award of the London Business School Institute of Entrepreneurship and Innovation. She's also a member of the 2020 cohort of the Elite Inclusive FinTech 50 companies. Bankly is poised to bank about 2 million Nigerians by 2024. So I would like to right now, with a round of applause, I'd like to welcome Tomi Lola Adejana for her keynote address. Tomi. Let's just welcome all our panelists and our speakers. Can we just give them a round of applause? Thank you. You're most welcome. So right now, I would like to invite Tomilola Adejana for her keynote address. Please give her a round of applause as she comes up, please.
Good morning, everyone. I think there's another mic here. Hello, everyone. Is it the weather? Please. Okay. Thank you so much. I would like to first say it's an honor to be here. It's an honor to be standing on the same pulpit as a man of God I truly respect. And so on that note, I just want to first say thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you for counting my story or my journey worthy to be here. So before we go straight into talking about an innovator's journey or whatever that means, or my own journey as an innovator, I'd like to first say I like that we are in a bit of a Christian setting. There are certain things you won't be able to say. There are certain truths as a kingdom entrepreneur you can't share if you are in a secular setting. You'll be telling them that, the universe told me that I should do this. You say, Mother Nature whispered to me. Meanwhile, all the truth is that it's the Holy Spirit. But before we say that, I say that the ultimate innovator is God. And before we even talk about whatever journey, I want to acknowledge and just share with us that all we are trying to say, the journey we are on, He did it first in 7 days, 6 days, and He rested on the 7th day. So the first thing God did, He said, the earth was dark and void. Nothing existed. Innovation is about newness, right? Nothing existed, and this man came. I don't even know if he's a man. Or this woman came, and next thing He said, He breathed life. He said, let there be light. Next thing, there was light. Now, if we want to talk about an innovator or what journey someone like that has to go through, I think it's first to acknowledge that God is the first innovator and He made things to come to pass. Now, on that note, I think that I would be sharing a lot about my journey. It's been an interesting one, and I'm still at the beginning of it. And that's why I say it's quite an honor to be standing here today, to be sharing the path I've passed so far. I say our understanding of ourselves as innovators, like looking from the lens of what you were created for. And the thing is, if you first try to get clarity, saying, what am I created for? Or be intentional about the decision making you made. I think first is that we always assume innovation has to be something brand new. We assume that innovation has to be, a new idea, never been done before. We assume that innovation has to be, so we throw around the word innovation and then wonder, and pass sometimes when we overuse the word innovation, we start to pass things through, is this innovative? And then we throw away truly innovative things because it seems like it is not true. So the first thing this morning for me is to demystify the word innovation. Recently, I was having a leadership retreat, and we were discussing, we're reviewing our core values, our vision, mission, like coming back to the table to say, are we truly living it, and do we want to change it? We're also looking at our core values to say, what are the driving force that would guide the next phase of our journey? And then an argument ensued because someone felt innovation should be one of our core values. And guess what? I disagreed. Now, I didn't disagree because I didn't want us to be an innovative company. I disagree because I felt innovation can be deeply misunderstood. Now, if you say, for core values, we said that everything needs to pass through. You need to ask yourself questions like, are we truly living it? Now, if you add innovation, it might not be us within that retreat. It might be 10 years' time. It might be 15 years' time. And next thing, someone will always say, it's not new, it's not, so it doesn't pass the test of innovation. Now, the first thing, like I said, is that talking around innovation, I would like to maybe a bit define it. So he said, I think I wrote down a bit of some textbook understanding of innovation and what problem, in a way, I felt was different. And that was innovation to me. Now, do I think I was innovating? Absolutely, because I looked at another industry and felt because the hypothesis I was testing, I'm a scientist by background. So I went in with an hypothesis testing. So I said, for financial services to reach the last mile, it has to be seen through the lenses of a fast-moving consumer good. So I said, why should cigarettes be available in Borno? A new cigarette company will come into the country. In 12 months, someone will be able to buy it in the core of Yobe. Budweiser came into Nigeria. You were able to get, within 6 months, the product caught fire. So I said, why should all of this retail products hit the last mile, and then the basic financial services could not. Now, why should financial services even matter? Because I felt like financial inclusion was directly proportional to poverty alleviation. I felt it was important if I want to give Sholakbe here, I want to give her working capital to start a business. I first need to know Sholakbe. I need to know where she stays. I need to know what she desires to do. Now, if we don't even know these people, these desires, where they are, their identity, even if they are making 10 naira a day, how much they are making. So I can say, oh, Sholakbe makes 100,000 every month. I think if I give Sholakbe 150,000, making plus 100,000, it makes 250,000. She can increase her capacity and even hire one more person and create employment. So those were the thoughts. But we always assume that, oh, if I hadn't turned, maybe if I had not made sure that it's robots that is at the teller, maybe every agent network is a robot, then it's not innovative. So I actually disagreed and said, not because I don't think innovation is an important thing, but I strongly believe that if you keep looking at innovation from a single lens, 15 years later, I might not be here, then someone will say, all your ideas are not innovative because it's not new. It's not AI. It's not machine learning. Now, I would like to say, after setting that background, I would like to say there were 4 major things I think is critical on a journey as an innovator. Now, the first one, I said, is clarity. Get clarity. In 2017, I felt the leading. Okay, let me walk back. I used to work, I started my career as an investment manager in Meristem. After about 4 years, I got tired. So I went to school, went for my MBA in finance, came right back and joined the startup as one of the founding team. It was into microcredit and agricultural value chain. I had some equity, I was vesting, and it was good. 2 years down the line, I knew I had to leave. Don't ask me how. But thank God we are in a Christian setting. If I was publicly, I would say the universe or Mother Nature whispered to me. But the Holy Spirit told me I had to leave. And I was arguing. I said, nah, it's not possible. So I went consistently for months, and I knew. Now, keyword, I knew that I had to leave. Now, he didn't tell me what next. I didn't wait to finish vest. I didn't even fully sign my shareholders agreement. December 2017, I left. But before I did something. I took a vacation. I went to Dubai. I didn't have enough money. So I asked a friend who was working in Dubai. I said, are you going to be in Dubai this week, this holiday? He said, no, I'm coming to Nigeria. Can I have your apartment so I don't have to pay for a hotel? He said, yeah. So I went to Dubai alone. And I spent 2 weeks getting clarity. So I asked myself, how much do you have in savings? How much runway do you have as a person? How long will it take you? What can you cut out from your living costs? How much does it cost you to live? It wasn't like I did have responsibilities as a young woman. I wasn't getting any money from anywhere. So I knew that I needed to live within my means. So how much does it cost me to live every month? How much will it cost me? So how long did I have as a runway? So I knew I had a year. I had a year to do whatever I needed to do, and then I was out of money. So January 2018, I started sleeping and waking up. I was doing some other side hustles. But the first thing I had was clarity. I knew I had to leave. I knew how much time I had. And I also knew that where I wasn't what I needed. And I started waiting for the next instructions. Now, personally, I deal in obedience. Whatever I do is about what is the Holy Spirit, which guides me. Whatever guides the innovator. And Elon Musk might tell you something else. Whatever guides, there's always an inner compass that guides us. It's more about getting to know yourself, getting clarity about yourself, a personal mastery, that you are able to hear clearly what you're being guided to do. The second thing I want to talk about is get knowledge. After clarity is the knowledge that is necessary. Right after I came back, I didn't take a job, but I took a research. I joined a research. I joined a research called Axiom Venture Lab Company Builder Program. It wasn't a paid job. They weren't going to give me anything. But for 6 months, January 2018, all the way to June, I did nothing but understanding, testing that hypothesis for financial services to reach the last mile. How can we make it seem like a fast-moving consumer good? Now, I also want to add here that for everything, there's an art and a science. A talented footballer might have a talent, that's an art. But he still has to learn certain skills and processes and frameworks, I like to say, of football. That's the science. Now, someone might be good with business, that's the art. Now, he still has to learn that there are basic systems necessary to build a business. Because you are good, you have a flair for business, does not mean you understand the science of it. You might be a fantastic musician, you might be as talented as Wizkid, but if you don't back it up with the science of it, there is no way you'll be as big or reach the peak of your innovation. Now, in getting knowledge, a lot of us sometimes feel, I know these things, but there are certain processes to building stuff. And so what I did then was join a research. What I learned there in getting knowledge was I started understanding that there are frameworks to understanding how customers think. There are frameworks to understanding how to build a business. There are systems and processes that you don't actually have to. Sometimes as a business person, as an entrepreneur, if you don't understand the systems, you wake up every day not knowing what am I supposed to be doing. I've had people talk to me and say, so what am I supposed to be doing? Like, if you don't understand the knowledge, understand the framework, and then go build, that's why you hear about the lean model framework, the business model canvas, the lean startup canvas, all of the necessary. Entrepreneurship is a form of management, so you need certain skills. So the science of it is critical. So the second thing I want to share seriously is that apart from getting clarity, the next thing you need to do is get knowledge. Whatever way you need to do, get the knowledge. Even if you think you're skilled about this thing, it is important to understand the science of it. So the art of it and the science of it comes together to make the success of it. The third thing I want to talk about is get alignment. What is alignment? Alignment is about being a square peg in a square hole. So all the vertices or all the diagonals are fit so perfectly. Now, alignment is the foundation. It's like, Matthew 7 says that there's a house that is built on a rock. When the rain comes, when this comes, it will stand. Versus a house that is built on the stand. You've gotten clarity, you've gotten knowledge, you're about to build, but you need alignment is the foundation. Now, I will share how I got my alignment, and it was very funny. So remember January 2018 to June, I was testing, and so I decided, I met my co-founder also while I was getting knowledge. So it wasn't about, I didn't call up a friend to say, I want to start something, I think we are now friends, and since we are friends, let's do business together. No, I didn't know them from anywhere. All I did was, while I'm doing that research, they then told us to form teams. I was the only female. There were 15 of us within the research. I was the only female. So I had a lot of the guys in the team calling me. They told me, join our team. I said, I'm not sure. I'll talk to you later. I said, this is what I want to do. Is that aligned with yours? Remember clarity, because I was clear. The reason for clarity is that you would get distracted. You will get derailed. If you don't have clarity, you won't know that this is noise and I need to sift through it. Now, people were calling me, and people that were amazing, that were tech guys, I had the experience in the network, but I just asked them, I'm very sure I want to play in this. We're all fintech, remember, we're in financial services. I want to play in this side of fintech. Is that what you want to do? He said no. So they were telling me, talk to Fred. It said exactly something similar to what you're saying. I said, okay. So I picked up my phone and called Fred. Fred is my co-founder, and I call him my first success in banking. So I picked up my phone and called Fred and said, hello, Fred. I've really never spoken to him in the class. And I said, I want to do this, and I heard you're trying to do something. Would you join me? And he said, okay, there's one person. Anyway, I got Fred. Now back to alignment. After we decided, so we joined this team and called it TBD, to be decided. So the name didn't matter, but what we wanted to do mattered. So we started I went to Abeokuta, I tell them, I said, forget this, I have street cred. I'll go on that Valente, sit with taxi drivers and start to understand them. I remember I used to live in Dolphin, that high rise. So I'll walk through those markets and I'll be talking to them. And someone saw my sister, one plantain seller saw my sister. I said, your sister came and asked me questions. So I did, back to knowledge, I was actually asking, I didn't just sit in a boardroom. Part of what we have as an issue with innovation is that we live in a bubble. If you truly want to innovate, you're only innovating within the sphere of what you know. So if you want to innovate, you need to take yourself out. It's called the Medici effect sometimes. Like you take yourself out of the system you're used to clearly understand what needs to be done. Else you will sit in a boardroom like many big companies do and innovate. And then you hit the market and nothing happens. I keep jumping back, but it's okay. Get clarity, get knowledge, back to alignment. Now, with alignments, after I've done all of this, we said, okay, we want to do this. We'll keep doing the research before we incorporate. We didn't even bother incorporating. Then, we decided that, okay, we'll pick a name and we'll incorporate. And so, I sat down one day and said, Tomilola, you're about to start a journey. And the question I asked myself was, what if I fail? Before, I had to face it. I said, what if you fail? And this was a life-changing moment for me. And the answer, guess what the answer was? He said, if I failed, based on what the word thought failure was, now let me tell you what that meant. Everybody will say, oh, she's trying to build Bankly, whatever it is, maybe a bank for the unbanked. She's trying to build Bankly. Oh, that girl that said she was trying to build Bankly. I don't know what happened to it. It failed. So in the mind of the world, because I didn't achieve what they expected me to achieve, I failed. But my question was, so what was failure to me? Failure to me was not doing what I was meant to do at the time. Now I asked myself, am I doing what I'm meant to do at this time? And once the answer was yes, it was a go. So it didn't matter if I failed. To me, I knew I didn't fail because I was aligned. Now, that for me was so freeing because a lot of time we don't innovate because of fear. We don't innovate because what will people say? We don't innovate, let me not forget my notes because I have critical things I would like to share there. We don't innovate because, alignment removes the noise. Alignment is to be in the precise position. There's an accuracy to achieve that fit of the vertices and the diagonals, square peg in a square hole. At the time it was meant to be there. It says, alignment removes the noise and distractions of other people's expectation. It gives you order because even after getting clarity and knowledge, you will get distracted. People will come. You will even see other ideas that seem, wow. I know entrepreneurs that jump from idea to idea. Oh, someone is doing this, let's do this. I have never strayed from what we're doing. We've learned, we've picked information, we've iterated, we've picked information from the market. I first went out and said I didn't want to build an agent network. Psst, you were new, nobody wanted to partner with you. So I went back to build agent. I wanted to partner. But when nobody knows you, I went back to build an agent network and now we have 15,000. But I didn't want to build an agent network. And for 2 years, everybody thought I was an agency banking business. But it doesn't matter. Because when you die, it's like, you know how that guy said, I don't pot. So you now unleash yourself. I said, this is what I am. All the while, you thought I was just building the foundation, building the structure. And that's all we've been building for 2 years. Alignment keeps you focused. My co-founder says to me, I've never been this clear. I said, thank you. I said, the captain of the ship that makes said, I remember one time when I was driving and I just said Habakkuk 2-3. I didn't even know. No, I heard write the vision, make it clear. I didn't know where it was. I'm not that much. I'm a Christian, but it's not like I'm not a walking Bible. So I went Google. Thank God for Google. I just went to Google and said, where is it? I'm the kind of person, my husband will probably know that it's in this book. Me, I don't even know whether it's in Revelation or it's in Genesis. So, but I never forgot again. He said, write the vision, make it clear. So he who runneth sees it. And innovate, you need to, because the last thing that you need is to get support. Now, if you get support and they are not plugged into the vision,
if there's no clarity, there's no alignment, and you don't have the knowledge, you will bring in the best people and they won't serve you. So alignment will help you hear a lot of no's, and people will come. You even bring talent and just say, this is what we should be doing, because they are coming with an idea of where they were before. But you need to kind of reorient them. I recently got a VP of growth who has spent about 15 years in one of the biggest telcos in sales. Fantastic guy. Now, I didn't want to hire him, though I thought it was amazing, because I thought, he's going to bring the playbook and I don't have their money. So it would work. I think it's an execution machine, but I will have to put a budget behind him that I don't have. And I was talking to my husband and a mentor, and he said, you have to reorient him. I know he's built to execute, but reorient him. So, but the reorientation, it comes from my own clarity and my own alignment, knowing very sure that this is what I want to do. Now, I said, alignment doesn't mean things will be perfect. Alignment means you will make the best decision for yourself and be at peace with the outcome, irrespective of the noise around you. In 2018, I remember people saying, oh, I think it's a great idea, but this sector is going to eat you for lunch. I said, okay. I sat with my co-founder and he said to me, what are we going to do? I said, we'll ride it till they eat us for lunch. So I was recently selected as one of the Cartier women for Sub-Saharan Africa. And when I was talking to the jury then, she said to me, but you're in a space that seems competitive. I said, 4 years ago, someone else said this to me, but I still raised $2 million just 3 months ago to then build. So, you then ride to the point that you take such a niche in the market that they can't ignore you. First Bank existed before GT Bank came, and they still took us. It doesn't have to be a slice of First Bank's market. They took a chunk of the market. GT Bank was existing before Access Bank came, and Access Bank is the biggest bank. Why do we feel? So it always feels as if, someone is already, investors will ask you, they are built to do that. But your conviction, I said to myself that, be convinced so much that you stand in front of someone and they write you a check and say, can I double it? The first time I raised my pre-seed, I was in front of someone who spoke to an investor who said, I'm trying to invest in this startup. He said, maybe I'm interested. Send that to my office. So I sat in his office and he said, I was going to do this amount. I finished talking to him. He said, can I double it? I was scared. I was actually scared of, that's one thing I'm learning. I was scared of collecting money. And I asked him and I looked at him and said, do you know what you're doing? I said, do you know what you're doing? He said, what do you mean? I said, do you understand that this is a risk? I said, do you understand that I might lose all your money? And he looked at me. He said, you might not have everything figured out, but I'm willing to take that risk. Your conviction is what sells. We're going to come back to the funding. But you speak so much that someone sat in front of you and said, can I double the check I'm about to give you? And you said no. Because, and that's what alignment, and I will round up here. Everyone has been talking about Jackpot, go to Canada, and I'm not against it because, remember alignment, your alignment might be in Canada. But a lot of times, the noise is what is leading for everybody else to go. Not because you are sure. Everybody around you is going, so go. Peer pressure. And a lot of people ask me, let me tell you, they are so aggressive now. I have how many immigration lawyers in my DM? That's how crazy it is. I have immigration lawyers from the US, from the UK, saying that, then they're coming for talent. They're trying to uproot the Nigerian tech ecosystem and go and uproot it and land you in London. And they want you to run your company from London, which is because the difference between running a business and building an institution is that it doesn't need you physically, and COVID has helped. So you literally can sit in your headquarters in Kensington and be running your startup here. But what alignment does for you, it reminds you is that, am I meant to be here? Where am I meant to be at such a time as this? And once you know it does not matter what everybody's jumping ship, you stay. And so, on that note, I think I've been able to share a bit of my journey that still went out to
fight Goliath. He said it wasn't the most decorated soldier. It wasn't. In fact, it wasn't even a soldier. It was not even meant to be on the battlefield. But it was all they got. And they told him to go out. And Goliath looked and said, am I a dog that you send him to me? And guess what? He killed Goliath. So right now, I'm all you got. So we'll slay Goliath together.
Thank you so much, Tommy. We've learned a thing or two. Like I mentioned earlier, we're streaming live on 3 channels. We're on Twitter at Covenant Center. We're on Facebook, Covenant Christian Center. And we're also on YouTube, Covenant Capital. We have 2 hashtags for today. We have hashtag the Innovators Journey and hashtag Innovators Journey Pitch. So please spread the word. If you are sending out any updates on what's happening today, just use the hashtags, hashtag the Innovators Journey and hashtag the Innovators Journey Pitch. So in the course of the build up to this event today, we actually had startup and techpreneurs. We had them send in entries. You're supposed to send in a 60 to 120 second video telling us, okay. So as a build up to today's event, we actually had startup tech entrepreneurs and just those already in the tech space or just starting off. We had them sending us entries of 60 to 120 second videos, and they were supposed to tell us about a problem that they identified, the target audience, and how they were going to use tech-enabled channels, easy to use tech-enabled channels to solve whatever problem it was. We're able to shortlist about 4 or 5 pitches, and so in the course of today's event, we'll be having each of them come up one by one intermittently to give us a 5-minute presentation. Also, we have a couple of panelists here. Please, we've given you scoring sheets, and we have 3 metrics for evaluation. We have, first of all, innovation, 10 scores. There is scalability of the idea, 10. And there's also viability of the idea, 10. So a total of 30. And at the end of the day, the winners will get a chance to be mentored by some of our renowned thought leaders who are in the house today. I'll make welcome right now the first speech, Adera. Adera, are you around? Please give it up for her, please, as she comes up. She has 5 minutes, please. And afterwards, you have a chance to take 2 questions from any of the panelists. We have can take 2 questions from the panelists, and we round off that. Thank you.
Good morning. Yeah, my name is Deborah Fashe, CEO at Adera. Having worked in the industry for almost 10 decades, I've discovered an age-long problem in the fashion industry, which is around one. Oftentimes, we hear customers tell you when you ask them to come down to the store to have their designs made, they tell you they're busy, and truly, they are very busy. And most times, we have to get, as a designer, most times we want to get to them to ensure they have their designs made. You know, we have to walk down to their spaces or their offices, and eventually, it gets very stressful for even myself as a designer and also the customers. And another thing that also happens is, you hear customers tell you, they need the outfit ready in a month. And in the right sense, they want it in a week. But because they do not trust tailor, the outfit is to be needed in a week, and they tell you it's a month. Why? Because of trust complications. They are scared of tailors disappointing them. Another interesting thing is that body measurement discrepancy. You hear them tell you, how can I come to your store only to have my measurement taken? That's not interesting for me. And now, at Adera, we've carved a solution around this age-long inefficiency, which is virtual body measurement. Excuse me, let me take off my mask, please. Virtual body measurement. At Adera, our system uses a system that is the ML algorithm that allows your body measurement taken virtually without having to leave the comfort of your home or offices. And another thing is, when this is taken, it just on your phone, you get your phone, you take about the front view, the back view, and the side view of yourself. And when you upload it on the platform, you see all your body measurements taken accurately. And that, within the space of your phone, you have your body measurement taken without having to leave your comfort. Another interesting thing is access to top vetted. I know quite a lot of people seated here today want to sew something they love to wear, but they don't know how to get the best tailor to handle them. I know most of them know the issue of what I ordered versus what I get. You order for strapless, you get something else. But on our platform, you get access to top industry vetted tailors that handles your design excellently and accurately. Another interesting thing is we are not just about tailors, or we're not just about those who want to sew. We also about designers that want to boost their revenue. Because now we know about intellectual properties. Designers will say when they design their upload on the site, they see people just seeing their designs everywhere. But on our platform, designers can get paid for all of their designs. Even when you make your designs, you put it on the platform, you get paid for it right there on the platform. And at Adera, it's also about convenience and trust. On the platform, you have access to tailors where you can trust. That is, you have all your designs made without leaving your office or your home, and you can track the tailoring process from sewing to the cutting to even delivery. You can track every process of designing without having to leave your offices. And one interesting thing about Adera, please can I have my slide, please? One interesting thing about Adera, the next slide, is that now, this is the product overview. Right there on your phone, you can have, you see your designs. Do you want to put your fabric there? You can put your fabric. Do you want to also come over and get a logistic guy to pick your fabric? It can be picked up. You make designs line, and everything is done right on your mobile device. Next slide. Next slide, please. Now, how do we get paid and how do we make money as a brand? Yeah, these are business model. We get commission based on service charged. Any tailor on our platform, any outfits they make, we get commissions from them. Fabric merchandise. People also have the assets to sell up the fabrics on the site. And logistics. Those are the best ways we make revenue as a business. And now, here's the market size for the business. About the global industry is worth over 2.5 trillion. That is, the fashion business is a very large business, which has helped us to have the total available market around 4.7 billion. That is, we are able to access about 101 billion of our designer with the use of our system that gives room for virtual body measurement, trust and convenience, access to top tailors, and design royalty, which makes our design process seamless and timeless. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Adera. Please, can we take about 2 questions from any of the panelists? Okay, please, 1 and 2. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Adera.
Adera.
Adera, sorry. So my question is, are you a platform provider or you make the clothes? I know you have an aggregation of tailors and all that, but then is your job to just provide the platform or we are
a platform provider. We run platforms for tailors who want to scale their business. So we can have about 1,000 tailors on the platform where, just like an Uber app works, we have drivers on the Uber app. Same there, you see tailors on the platform where they can have designs taken up for sewing.
Okay, thanks. The second question is, what's your quality control process? Like, how do you make sure tailor A is not messing up your name, right? By providing something that's not what the customer wants.
Yeah, fantastic. On the platform, before any outfit is being delivered, we have a quality control agent who goes down to the store to check everything is well vetted. That is from the finishing to the cutting and sewing before it's being delivered to the customer. So we have a quality control agent that does that.
I want to add to the response she has already given. So before you are onboarded as a designer or a tailor on the platform, you have gone through a vetting process. So we trust that you have the competence and you can deliver on your promise. Whereas we are not playing in the operations, we had created a system that we can trust to say this job will be delivered as promised. And this is coming from experience, having played in the industry for almost 10 years. We know the array of people who fit into this category.
Second question.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was a very good one. I think it's a very good thing you're working on. My question is more around what is the biggest problem you have faced since you started? That's my first question. And the second question is, what is the biggest problem you anticipate you're going to face in the next 2 years?
Thank you. I'll take those two questions. Interestingly, because we are still in development, we have not encountered real-time challenges. We are still, in a way, testing our hypothesis, right? But one of the biggest challenges we have seen is the dynamics of the market. People themselves are not static. Their wants and desires evolves. So someone can tell you that they want this particular design style, and during the course of production, they find something else, maybe online, or they just conceive a different thought that fits into the events they want to go for, and they will tell you to alter the design that has been agreed. That's one very key challenge that we're trying to create a solution around in our development. But we also emphasize that as soon as we launch, we would have the opportunity to learn and iterate the solution that we're providing. One of the core challenges we anticipate as we launch is the possibility for the products that we are offering not to gain as much acceptability, because technology can be very tricky. We think that people are prone to accepting new technology, but because this is not a familiar terrain, people may then resent from accepting what we're offering at first. But we know we're putting up strategy to also overcome that.
We can take one more question. We have 50 seconds.
Yes.
Hello?
I can hear you, sir.
Okay, so I was very interested about the technology around the measurement. I think that's the amazing part of your application. Have you thought about how you can possibly make some money from that application already? Because I think there are a lot of bottlenecks around aggregating tailors, vetting them. You mentioned something about when the customer puts in a design and decides to change their mind. I think that for me, what attracts me to this, it's the measurement part. But you mentioned it as just a little part of it. And when you were talking about how you were making your revenue, you didn't put that in the model at all. You don't think that that's like a viable thing in your business?
Thank you so much. Actually, that is our core feature for the product we're building, and one of the major frontline value proposition. The contactless measurement itself is a new technology that has only been tested by a few big enterprises in the US and in India. And we are trying to not just adapt what they have, but contextualize the challenge that we have, because we actually play in a different market space. We are looking at the make-to-measure market space, which is fast growing in Africa, versus what the retail market looks like in Europe and in the US. So we're building our technology with an API system so that we can even let it out for people to use, and as they consume, each API, we can generate revenue from that. In our model, yes, we have projected that commission-based is our primary focus, because we want to start off by gaining the size of the market before projecting the other part of opportunities that we have identified. I hope that is.
Thank you very much.
But we're also happy to have a conversation if you have suggestions for us. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Adera. All right, we'll move right quickly to the first panel. The first panel will be speaking about things around ideation. We're talking about what at the Innovators journey, and we'll start with ideation. Just to be reminded that we are streaming live on 3 platforms. We're on Twitter at Covenant Center. We're on Facebook at Covenant Christian Center. And we're also on YouTube on our Covenant Capital YouTube channel. So please and also just remember the hashtags as well. We'll be calling on Femi Darabidon. He will be anchoring and moderating the ideation section. Femi. Please, can we just give me a round of applause as Femi comes up, please? Please, as Femi comes in, he'll be inviting the panelists one by one. Please, let's encourage them and give them a round of applause as they come.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Obafemi Darabidon, and I'll be anchoring the ideation panel. Okay, so before we start, I'd like to bring up the members of the panel. I have Ugochukwu Chikezie of Tremendok. A round of applause, please. Anyway. Debo Odulano of Doctora. A round of applause, please. Welcome, sir. Then we have Benga Olorunfemi of EduTof. That sounds like AstroTurf in Ikoyi. I'm sure we're having some soccer in the Edo world here today. Then we have Sholakwe Akinpelu, Harvest. A round of applause, please. You're welcome, ma'am. A minute, please. Okay, if we have questions, we could just put them down on the paper while the ushers will go around to pick them up from you. All right. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. So, this is Ideation. I'm sure we are all conversant with the phrase that says that ideas are one a dime, a dozen a dime, and which means that there's a rain of ideas every day. And I believe everybody here kind of like has an idea that they want to translate into something commercial, especially in the tech space. Now that COVID has more like redefined the way we do things, a lot of people are seeking to translate their ideas into commercial ventures. So that's why we're here. So this panel is basically going to look at ideation as a process. In the keynote address, she mentioned entrepreneurship being an art and a science. So I want us to examine the art and the science of ideation. Do I just wake up with an idea in my mind and go to the market with it? What qualifies my idea? You know, I would like to start with Sholakwe. Ladies first.
Good morning, everybody, and thank you so much, Obafemi. Speaking about ideas, speaking about innovation, as a matter of fact, when Tomi was sharing with us, I felt like, okay, someone would have thought we compared notes, actually, because as I rose this morning, the first thing that dropped in my heart was, you know, the book of Genesis as well. That is, God is the master innovator. And if he has made us in his likeness, that means that all of us, in our DNA, we carry the innovation gene. Speaking about that, I believe particularly that as Nigerians, with the peculiar climate that we have, so when I say climate, I'm referring to the environment that we, you know, the environment basically, the defect too. What it does in essence is that from a ride from here, we are in Igomu, to Victoria Island, trust me, if you just sit by your window and look out, you see tons of ideas before you get to your destination. I meant that by just seeing the waste, you know, by the roadside, the gridlock, so many things that would typically look like problems, typically are problematic to us. In all of these challenges are where we can find ideas. So I just want to reinforce that we should reimagine innovation as a solving process, as a learning process. Like Tony said, it doesn't have to be like Big Bang Theory. It doesn't have to be so technocentric, right? I see a lot of people talking tech. Tech is fun, but I do not want us to get buried or absorbed in that buzzword so much that even when we find simple ideas that we can leverage on tech, we are thinking, no, if it's not robotic, if it's not, you know, out of this world.
Artificial intelligence.
Exactly, you know, it isn't a great idea or it isn't a tech idea. And at times I think that, permit me to say, tech is really beautiful, but at times we just dwell too much on it and miss out on great ideas, for instance. I know that we'll get to talk more about things, but what I'm saying in essence is that there are tons of ideas everywhere. There are many problems that growing up here, being acclimatized helps us, gives us the leverage to post solutions to. So pick one today and, you know, start with that.
Okay, thank you. So from what you've said, I think I want to believe that from what you see in the environment, from the supposed problems that you see in the environment is what begins ideation for you?
Yes, it's a foundation, right? And that's why, it's not accidental that, people are looking into Africa, right? We are going through that resilience. And it just means that an average African is a solutionist because there are many problems to be solved. And we are the best people to solve those problems because we've got the framework, we've got the context.
So let's look at harvest. What was the problem?
All right. Sub-Saharan Africa alone loses about 130 billion naira due to economic gender gap. And what that meant is that because of so many sociocultural, we are Africans, right? I grew up in a home where, my father, an amazing man, but he was, how do I say it? Like, they are just conventional roles. Let me put it that way, right? So it's more like you're typically meant to handle this. This other person is meant to handle this. So you realize that all of these implicit biases are spilling into the adoption of financial services too, especially for women. Now, I've done 11 years marketing financial brands on both the agency side and then the client side. And one thing that kept, rearing its head is whenever I get a brief or whenever I just need to do assessment of the people I'm talking to, you see a low, poor representation of women. And if we take it a step like, say, okay, let's do it one woman at a time, and you want to talk to them, especially when they want to get a layered financial product like investments, insurance, and all of that. When you start explaining to women, at least some women that we worked with, you lose them. I'll give an example. A client of mine at an investment firm, male, said, "Oh, I would like to introduce you to my wife." And then I reached out to the wife, and I started telling the wife, "What are your objectives?" Let's just say that the conversation ended up in, go and meet my husband. He's the one that can handle this. Not because it wasn't her money, but she wasn't just interested in learning. And that for us was, a problem. Like, if women were more involved, it meant that economic prosperity can be equally shared and access can be equal. And we realized, we did subjected, that hypothesis, and realized that a lot of women were not investing, were not financially included, because they said, you know what, it's just very complicated. We don't understand it. Make it simple for us, make it digestible for us, and we'll be happy to. And then God said, let there be harvest, and harvest became.
That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Doctora, what's the story? What's the problem that you started ideating solutions for?
Thank you very much for the question.
All right.
I'm not sure if this is working properly, but I guess. I think it's fine. Okay. So the overarching problem that we noticed when we started was that access to healthcare was severely limited. I was a doctor for 10 years practicing in Nigeria, and in that time I'd rotated to private healthcare in a city like Lagos, private healthcare in a city like Ibadan, but I wasn't even in, should I say, the metropolitan area of Ibadan. I was on the outskirts, so it was more, should I say, indigent community sort of thing. I've then experienced the public sector in Lagos as well as somewhere like Ibadan as well. And in that period, I noticed two key things. One, the doctors are not making enough, or the health professionals generally are not making enough. And then the patients themselves are not getting enough value from healthcare services because, one, the services are not enough and available where they need them and where they need them. So those things together made me start to think, why does this problem exist? And we then realized that the issue, or the most pertinent question when it comes to access to healthcare is the financial access aspect. It's, you know, and that financial aspect has a ripple effect on every other thing. You know, if doctors cannot make money, or if health services cannot make money, if people cannot afford the healthcare services, then the healthcare services would cease to exist after a period. So we started working around how can we make healthcare services a lot more viable from a physician's point of view. How do we get more doctors into private practice? If we get more doctors into private practice, how do we stimulate competition amongst these providers so that at the end of the day, the end user, who is the patient, can get the best value for money when they're purchasing services. So we went through that route of providing the infrastructure for healthcare services, both digital and physical, in terms of the consulting rooms, the hospitals, the surgical theaters, and then digital in terms of telemedicine, just to make sure that that barrier that would have been, you know, the cost of setting up the facilities or the operational costs of delivering services would be less for the professionals. And then in that way, we can deliver higher quality to the patients. Again, this wasn't straightforward, and it has gone through a lot of tweaks over time. But the overarching issue was people want healthcare. The healthcare services that are available are either too expensive or too substandard for them. And the major issue why that healthcare cannot be distributed effectively to these people is more of a financial issue. And this is, you know, one of the major distribution problems we have in any of the sectors that we have in Nigeria. Getting, you know, services that are produced to the last mile, and that's where we really had to come in.
That's fantastic. So looking at problems influencing the ideation process, so I'd like to come to you, sir, Mr. Chikeze, Tremendok. So tell us, at what point in your ideation process did you come to know that this idea is viable for you to even venture into it or to pursue it?
Okay, so for Tremendok, my story is a bit different from Debo's because in school I started studying medicine and I failed out, so I was totally seen like a dumb person because I didn't have the smartness to finish as a doctor. But somehow in me, it was just there that I needed to prove myself. But that's what started Tremendok. I started my first tech company in 2015, a company called Nairabox. And in 2017, my first son was diagnosed with a large adenoid, and it caused him to always have a cold at night, and he couldn't breathe properly. And it forced us as young parents to always, you know, take him to the hospital and see the doctor. And all the first 6 months that this was happening, that's when it hit me. I said, you know, I've had to do this drive, you know, 2 a.m. in the morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, and sometimes call the doctor and he's not available. So he hit me one time and said, what I thought about was, I'm probably privileged to have access to doctors because I have a lot of friends who are doctors, but there are millions of Nigerians who don't have this access. And it could just be a simple question: should I give this drug to my child while he's on antibiotics? Something as simple as that. And then that's when the idea hit me that we could have an app that, you know, aggregate doctors, put them together and give people access. What he said about the doctors getting extra finance, it's what the reality is. And for me, at first was, okay, how do we also give some money to these doctors? Because I have a lot of friends who are doctors, and, you know, we sit down and we talk about what is going on in the healthcare space. But for me, the idea was more of a need. as a consumer because of what I was going through. And I thought about the fact that millions of Nigerians will be going through the same thing. So I think immediately the idea hit me, I knew it was it. I didn't need to, for me, I always say to people that I think it was a vision because it came when I walked out of the kitchen, I saw an ad on TV, and there was someone who was supposed to be a doctor, had a stethoscope on, and he was giving an ad talking about a drug. And immediately the idea hit me. And when the idea hits me, every part of the business hit me at the same time. So there was no going back. I just knew instantly that this was it.
Beautiful. So this is another pointer to the fact that something that we see as challenges within the environment, either personally or happening to other people, actually influences this ideation process. So it comes back to, the question I asked about viability of an idea. Because I'm sure if we ask everybody seated here today, everybody, okay, even take other people's money and push this idea into the market, knowing fully well that there are risk elements in the market that can make the idea fail. So how do you come to that point of viability of the idea? Mr. Olorunfemi of EduTof.
Thank you, Femi. Viability of an idea. That's EduTof. That's been our story. We try to make learning fun, because there are a lot of, when we were young and were growing up, about the only way we're taught is what we call rote learning. 2 times 2, 2, 4 times 4. So it's just about you have to cram and put it back, give it back. But today, people that have realized that they are kinetic learners, they need to feel, they need to touch, which is why they do well with a pad. But you give them newspaper or handouts or notebooks, they don't do well. Some kids are auditory learners. So in class, he might put his head on the table, and it appears like he's not listening because he finds the teacher boring. But if you ask a question, he'll be the only one to answer. Everybody in the class does not know what he's. So most times, teachers will most likely rate those kind of kids low, or even advise that they repeat. But the truth about it is that if you sit the child down and ask, you'll be shocked. He might not be able to really write it down because he's not interested. But let him talk. You'll realize that word for word, verbatim, he can actually give you a download of the lesson. So the point is, ideation does not have to be totally about solving a problem. It can be improving on what exists. Okay. Or taking care of what you can say, or the people that you can say they're not included. Okay. Taking care of I don't want to use the word less privilege or learning disabilities. I don't want to use that word. So it doesn't look like it's a challenge. But the truth about it is that it's about, ideation sometimes is about inclusiveness. You're trying to get everybody involved.
All right, thank you so much. So research has it that 21.5% of startup ideas fail in the first year, 30% fail in the second year, 50% in the 5th year, and about 70% in the 10th year. Why do you think your idea will survive to the 10th year?
Interesting question. Interesting because I remember the very first pitch Harvest had. None of the panelists asked anything. And if you ask me, it's probably from a place of, women, right? Like it could be, eventually when someone spoke, person just said, okay, you've established that a lot of women are not adopting financial services, especially advanced financial services. So, why? And the vision was clear for us when we started. And that's why we launched as a social enterprise. Because we knew that our job was part advocacy, and then part business. We needed to bridge a lot of financial education for women. So that is my first answer to that question. So we did not go into a market where there was low adoption and we're just saying that you people, can't you see, open your eyes, just adopt, right? We went with, and that's why I said initially that ideation innovation should be reimagined from a learning and solution perspective, right? So we knew that we needed to bridge the learning gap and then communicate what their non-actions could cost them and not even their current actions now. And let me mention here that whatever your idea is, even the fast food just down the road, they are solving a problem. Be sure to articulate and have the mission right at the core. That is, be mission driven. When we started, we're thinking, oh, for women, we're going to probably, give women credit and all of that. But when we dissected the numbers, it felt like a lot to, chew all at once. But then we still wanted inclusion because we felt like a woman is a woman. Regardless of the fact that you are in Lagos or you are in Lokoja, a woman is a woman. And the woman in Lokoja probably needs the service more than myself because that woman is probably totally excluded. We are talking about underserved women in the rural areas. So we thought about it. That typical woman in that cranny in Gombe, in Borno, what does she do? What's the means of livelihood? And it wasn't difficult before we were able to see that this woman is at an intersection with myself. This is the woman that farms, and then I'm able to provide food for my family. Agriculture is no-brainer. It's the largest country GDP in Africa, in so many African countries too. And if you look deeper and distill the numbers of people in agriculture, 70% of them are women, but they are subjected to subsistence farming still due to the challenge that the urban woman, probably has to, but it's just at an aggravated, level over there. They are limited. Land ownership, access to credit. Some of them need their husbands, partners to stand as guarantors, even when they want to get credit from local credit organizations and all of that. So it wasn't difficult to expand into that, and then we started giving blended finance to these women, linking them to funding, trainings, and premium markets. So that, in a way, is solving a solution for myself, because that meant that Sholakwe can put funds down for this woman, stimulate this woman productivity, and, it's like a snowball effect. Gradually, thousands of women becomes millions of women, and Africa can solve, its food problem and the world food problem as well. So speaking about viability, does that sound really viable? Because after now, I believe that a lot of us would need to take a grub, at least 2 a day.
Yeah, sure. So what I hear you say is that so long this population continues to grow, and we have more women in the population that are underserved, that are financially excluded, you will continue to have a market. You mentioned market opportunity.
Yes, markets, yes. And what it meant is, or what I would say is, to test our ideas of viability, we should be, because I've seen a lot of people build products, and it is just within the confines of them, and that's why it's important having mentors, having mentors and the right mentors actually around you. Because leaning back to God's word itself, the first thing he created was what again? On the first day, he said, let there be light, right? It's not a mistake. He didn't go to creating the other things before light. Subject it to light, subject it to research. You can situate viability at your testing phase by subjecting it to research. What's the market size? What are their their, what's the word called now? Like the economic power that they have. What are the, look at all the numbers, subject to life, subject to a lot of research. We did that when we started, and like I said, and that was where we realized that, hey, it's not a function of maybe women are not happy to invest, or maybe women are not thrilled about impact investments. In short, it was at that stage I realized that a lot of women, are interested in impact investments, CSR, all these communal activities like, throwing another woman a lifeline and all of that. So subject it to a lot of research, put it to your product market fit, look at the numbers, and from there you can situate viability.
Great. Mr. Chikeze. Okay. but what makes an idea, stand out? What have you put into your solution that makes you different from competition, that gives you that confidence that you'll still be here, in the next 10 years with your idea, and you'll still keep getting at
there, and then we're providing it. And then also trying as well to be innovative. So for us, we're thinking about so many things to introduce through a platform to make it easier for the doctors to give the right diagnosis, make it easier for the consumer to be more comfortable. We are introducing a lot of partnerships with laboratories and sample pickups, where you do your consultations digitally and you're able to pick the test. The doctor is saying, okay, you're writing this, you're going to do this test, and then the laboratory just comes and picks up the samples from your home. We're trying to create a full 360 digital healthcare access. So that's it. What makes me different? I really don't see what my competition does, because I always say that there's enough, when it comes to healthcare, we don't even have enough telemedicine platforms. So why are we at each other's throat? What's the market share like? We've not even scratched the surface. We're saying 150,000 consultations in a couple of months, but we have 200 million people. Makes no sense. So basically, we all need to provide this access to people. And that's, for me, it's my number one goal. And even if Dr. Roy is doing 1 million consultations, there are 200 million people. Right? So that means I still have a lot of work to do. Okay. So that's how I see it. And we focus on what's in front of us. How do we make it better? And yeah, that's it.
Okay, that's beautiful. I'm sure in the next panels we'll talk about growth and scale. But I want to come to Dr. Debo, right? Okay. Now, I understand, maybe I'm a finance person, so I understand that there's a nexus between the numbers of users and also the frequency of usage of your platform, when you're talking about revenue. So while you are at the ideation phase, how do you project to determine the number of people that you are projecting to capture? Because for a lot of people, people generate ideas, but okay, we live in a very interesting environment where we actually don't have so much data to work with. So as an entrepreneur, how did you just feel, Nigeria is a 200 million man country, there's enough market? What gave you that, because it still borders around viability, because the idea has to be viable. There has to be the economics around the idea. And that's what brings me to the number of users and the frequency. Or is it just that you see the medical field as, whether you like it or not, you must have a dick, and I'll take care of you. Please, over to you, Dr. Debo.
Yeah, so for us, I think the thing is,
No, you take it.
let's try to. Okay, so when we started, our goal was get as many doctors slash health professionals, speaking broadly, into private practice? Like, you know, my goal was if this doctor, if there's a doctor in Lagos, for example, that has 2 hours free in the weekend, let him give it to me. With 2 hours, I can break that into 20-minute slots. I've created 6 slots for patients. Doctor makes his money, the patient makes gets their problem solved, and everything is gone. But when we started looking at this, there are 75,000 doctors registered in Nigeria on the MDCN, this thing, thereabouts. More than half are outside the country. You know, 20% of the ones that are left are practicing to leave, finding ways to get out of the country. The ones that are available are actually overwhelmed and too busy to even listen to you telling them, come and do private practice. I should come and do another thing again, you know. So it's a lot of all those things put together. Just, you know, getting started and then realizing that, oh, this market might actually be too small for what we are trying to achieve. It's actually having 4,000 specialists that you want to spread across many people, and out of these 4,000, it's really difficult to get 5 hours from each person per week. So we needed to look for something else to pull these people in. That's why we moved to the focus on the patients. Because initially our goal was, let's get more people into private practice and speak to the people trying to get into private practice. Okay. And realize that the reason why they're not in private practice is they don't have patients. So we had to go and get the patients for them. So with that, that's a wider market space, wider market that we can actually, should I say, get more value from. So at that point, we had to rethink, how are we actually making this money? So we've gone from a tech startup that is trying to democratize access to infrastructure for healthcare delivery to a tech startup that's actually a profitable one. Yeah, that is actually now trying to democratize access to the services created by the people using this infrastructure, right? And at that point, we realized we are now in the health system. Just like Uber is a transport system, you're in a health system of your own, an independent health system that can compete with what the government is doing or what the other healthcare systems that are available are doing. So we need to create a different model that allows people to actually purchase healthcare from this system. And that's what led to us getting to, you know, how do people pay? Now, how do people pay for an healthcare product that is a bit diverse? You know, we do telemedicine, we do in-clinic or in-facility care, and we do home care. We needed to actually separate everything. To say home care is for a different market. Clinic visits also for a different market. Telemedicine also for a completely different market. So we must start to see how can we create niche strategies to capture clients along these verticals, and then at a later stage, see how we can sell home care to people who we captured for telemedicine, and see if we can sell telemedicine for people who we captured for home care, and then move forward that way. So it's a mix of all different things, and we tackle the issues based on what the market is posing to us, really.
Thank you so much, sir. That's very fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we'll have to bring this panel session to an end. The highlights for me is that we've spoken from the angle of problems, generating ideas, and our ideas, you know, are meant to meet needs of people. And we also need to understand that people are in need of those solutions, and those solutions are what makes, you know, us viable in the marketplace. So at this juncture, I would like to say that thank you very much for listening to this panel. Thank you, Dr. Mr. Chikezie. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Debo, Mr. Olorunfemi, and Sholape. Thank you very much. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you.
Sure. We'd like to take a group picture, please.
Okay. I think the lady should come into the midst of the men.
Chill. Sorry, can I have chill?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Ma.
Okay, we'll move straight up to the next 10 minutes. We'll have the next speech. The name of the person who will be taking the pitch is Alfred Melvin. His company is 7th August Limited, and he'll be talking about a voting or election app. Like I mentioned earlier, we're streaming live on 3 different platforms. We're on Facebook, Covenant Christian Center. We're on Twitter at Covenant Center, and also at Covenant Capital, also on Twitter. And we're also on YouTube as well, Covenant Capital YouTube channel. So you can stream. And the hashtag is the Innovators Journey. I'd like to call on Alfred Melvin to present his voting app. You have 5 minutes for the presentation, and then you have another 5 minutes to take questions.
Fascinated about my mobile tech innovations and how I creatively deploy them to solve our everyday problems. I'm Alfred Melvin, a serial entrepreneur with the brand name 7th August Limited. On my table currently is a list of more than 7 different tech ideas providing solutions to challenges affecting all spheres of our human existence, both locally and globally. For this competition, we shall limit our focus to one of our most successful and recognized inventions called the voting app. In 2019, we built this mobile app. The voting app is used to conduct virtual elections for nations, residential associations, small and large organizations, cooperatives, unions, clubs, and what have you. We solve the problem of transparency by giving live results. Our model drastically reduced the cost of electioneering, such that we eliminated the cost of transit for members converging to a certain location, while deriving 100% participation of members globally, thereby eliminating the cost of venue, security, operations, feedings, and what have you. Of course, we had 0 voided votes and other election irregularities such as ballot snatching, insecurity, counting votes, all those things were all eliminated. It wasn't just only time and cost saving, but also safe and secured. This mobile app built on Android and iOS remains the first ever election app built in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Like I said earlier, my name is Melvin Alfred, and I'm a serial entrepreneur. Okay, thank you. Yeah, just to add to what I said over there, our business, our business model was built strategically to ensure we are successful and productive. Currently, we've adopted the Zoom business model, so we don't have to go one-on-one to market because we experience some challenges along the line, but we're going to leave it up there so people who want to actually vote and are looking for a system to vote, to save, like I said earlier, we actually saved costs for people so you don't have to transport yourself. And what we actually had, we did it for Institute of Strategic Management, and we recorded 100%, about 100% participation of our members. And yes, so that was what we did for them. Our business model, like I said earlier, we set to adopt the Zoom business model so that it makes sure that it's going to be very productive and also it's a viable business. Now, we've also, this whole thing started from 2018 when we decided to build the mobile app for Nigeria Society of Engineers, which I belong to. They had a certain challenge, and that was because they were finding it difficult, even as an engineering firm, to actually manage their database and payment structure. So I told them, okay, I could design something up for you that is able to make sure that people get involved, because that was another thing we're suffering again, membership. Membership was a problem. People don't know why they have to be in the NSC. So we said, okay, we could work out something and make sure that people participate effectively. And also the election, most times, has been always marred by irregularities. So this model was put in place to make sure that there was none. Now, it was applauded, but because of funds, we've not been able to kickstart it. But in Institute of Strategic Management, we did it, and it actually scaled through. Now, in addition, we built the Go Market shopping app, and it's actually to give you a 24 hours shopping experience. Now, you can The aim of that app was to take away the queues, which we actually have in the supermarkets, which always come from the result of using the POS. So there's no network, your bank, and then it's failing, you keep a whole lot of other people along the line. I, for one, I'm not a window shopping person, and I have to stay and enjoy the queue for those who are buying a whole lot of things. So we said, okay, why can't you buy from your phone? Currently, our model is currently competing with Amazon, because you can, from your phone, just snap, get your goods, put them in, pay, and then it moves. Sorry. Oh, okay, sorry. Also, we built the highway mobile app. We designed it currently, and we'll soon start that. Now, that came from innovation of why, over the years, I've used over 8 cars. And then I realized one day when I opened my box, I discovered that we had so much papers for registration of your cars, your car papers, and a whole lot. And I began to think, one day I had my car fault in Lekki, and when I sat down, I calculated and discovered that in Lekki corridors alone, we have over 2 million cars plying that road daily. So I asked myself, for how many papers, yearly registration, monthly registration, and a whole lot of other things, that when you put them in place, you're not green. So I said to myself, why don't we create a modem that makes people, you can actually pay online, and then your data is actually fixed online with just a small microchip. We also built that for the police infrastructure app that helps them for security, for kidnapping. It could locate you from anywhere in the world. And that is true. It requires a certain research to undertake. Thank you.
Hello, morning. I still don't have a sense of what you're pitching.
Okay, sorry, I didn't come prepared, but I just realized that today was the day for the pitch. Well, I'm actually pitching for the Nigerian society, the election app, which was actually built.
Right? Could you pick one and then, let it go, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, that's better. And then slow down and then,
okay.
Thanks.
Thank you. Okay, that which we are pitching today is the election app, which was designed. And the problem we tried solving was cost of electioneering. So it didn't allow people come from far. Cost of transportation was eliminated. Cost of acquiring ballot box and a whole lot of other things was also looked into. And then, so virtually from their phones, they voted from wherever they were. Now, you also have the challenge of people coming in to vote. So what we did was that from wherever you are, your comfort zone, you could vote, and then your vote was recorded. Then also, we solved the issue of election malpractice by giving live results. So at the point in time, you know exactly who is leading, who is losing. And immediately the election was ended, the result was published immediately. So there was no reason for possible rigging or whatever it is. Now, also looking at the cost of security, there was no need for ballot snatching and all whatnot. So we made sure that this app, that was one of the challenges it also solved. We cleared that particular phase. And when we finished, it was the first and the best ever done both in Nigeria and in most of the developed nations globally. This was the best and the first that was ever done. So, and our business model, we actually went around marketing to Nigerian Institute of Management, which we've gotten them, Medical Institute, and a few others. Now, but we then decided to change our business model and said to adopt the Zoom business model, which means that you have it up online whenever your organization wants to actually have the election. Before I go on, this app was built for it's built for both nations can use them, organizations, large and small, clubs, societies, whatever it is, as long as it's called an election, you can use it to do your voting, your election. And yeah, so these were the discrepancies and challenges we were able to solve, and it came out a success. Thank you.
So my question is, you've said that some institutes use it. Your business model is to push it to some institutions. How do you make money? Do they subscribe? Do they pay like a yearly subscription to gain access to your service? Or
Yes. What we did initially was that they pay for us to design it for them. Then they also pay for their yearly subscription. So if they want to use
you
it
white
next year,
label it for every institution that.
for every institution. But now we have transformed that model using the Zoom model. So now you just go online. If you have 200 members, you have a certain fee. 500, you have a certain fee. You pay. You, that is the election, the president or the coordinator of the election team. You will be the admin. You fill in everything, and then you arrange it yourself. Or you just will pay us, and then you get everything sorted out. Once it's over, we terminate it. Whenever you need it again, you come back again and resubscribe, just like that.
Hello. Nice presentation. Elections are very important, right? Voting process. Can you hear me? Yeah, the voting process is very important, right? And it has to be total inclusion. So what plans do you have for people that don't have access to data, that are not online, don't have an offline solution for this?
Okay, thank you, sir. What we did was that we designed both for Android, iOS, and web-based.
I'm talking about people that do not have internet-enabled phones, but they are also members of this society. For instance, you said your product could be used on a nationwide basis, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the internet penetration in Nigeria? It's about 70% or thereabout. So that means if we decide to use your system, we are denying 30% of the population the right to vote. So I'm asking, do you have an offline solution for this?
Yes, we do. And in that offline solution, we had to break it into two. We said, okay, we're going to look at those who may have to come to a certain location. So we are going to also design a system that makes them come and make you vote. The most important thing is that you're voting and it's counting immediately and giving you results immediately. That's one. Then also you can also go to the cyber cafe to use a system to actually vote. So that's why I said we have the web base. But all of this came in with your particular tag. You have a certain registration tag which bears your name, like your BVN number. So once you put it in, it registers for you, and you can't share it. And once that is done, it's already done.
Okay, thanks a lot. I'll be very honest, right? This thing needs to be thought through a lot more. Because, first of all, voting is about transparency. It's not about counting who is voting or getting real-time results. Voting is about transparency, right? It's not about counting the number of people. It's saying, how do I, as an individual, believe that if you tell me 5 people voted for party A rather than party B, or person A versus person B, how do I validate that, right? There's an access question, which is asked as well. And I mean, I had today's elections, local government elections in Lagos, and I was passing a school, and there were a lot of old men, old women there. So how does your solution, first of all, onboard those people, give me, an independent party, confidence that person A is really person A, and person B cannot come and impersonate person A, right? So how does your system help with transparency?
Thank you. Yeah, this is actually one of the questions which we had that made our app be recorded as one of the successful inventions that was ever made. Okay, now, we had the same question. So on our database backend, we designed the platform in such a way that it tells you what time you voted, who you voted for, all everything information which you require, like you asked, was there. So at the time, after the election, they wanted to verify if this was true. And we said, okay, get 10 people at random. And we told them the time they voted, who they voted for, and they saw it was clear. So that was when we were giving the pass mark and said, no, this is great, and it should be implemented nationwide. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I think the last question was more like things I just need to take note of. Yes, I think through the app. Okay, so we'll be going. Thank you very much. So we'll be going next to a second panel. Before the panel, I will call on, the panel will be led by Bode Abifari. Bode Abifari is one of us in Covenant Capital, and she's the Chief Operating Officer of Flutterwave. Mr. Benga Agbola, the CEO, was actually supposed to take the first keynote address today, but he couldn't make it. So Bode will be taking the next session on scaling and growth, but she will take a few thoughts from him before she anchors the section. Thank you. Bode, please.
Hello, can everybody hear me? All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's good to be here. On behalf of Olugbenga Agbola, we call him GB. When we told him about this, he didn't even think about it. He said yes, he was going to be here. But unfortunately, he's unable to join us. He was supposed to be here with us physically this morning. But not to worry. He sent me a few thoughts, so I just thought, it would be good to share some of those things. Interestingly, when Tommy was talking and I saw his points and the points came in, I was like, okay, innovators are the same. There's something I usually say when I see him, like when you see an innovator, people say they have an innovator's gene. And just listen to everybody, it was Mr. Chikeze that was saying it now. I call him Jay. So he was just saying it now that, he woke up and the idea actually came up to him. So one of the first things that he has asked me to share, so the first thing is to look for the problem. I remember before I made the switch to join Flutterwave, I think one of the key things for me was when I spoke to him, and he talked about the idea and the problem he wanted to solve. I could actually feel it and touch it. It was so clear. The clarity for me was, it wasn't just about the idea, it was how the organization will be, what type of people, what the plan will be, what this payment, how will it be in the next 10, 20 years. It was clear. I could actually touch it. Right? So the first thing is look for the problem, and I think everybody has said it. So what is the problem they are solving for customers? So for us at Flutterwave, we're helping customers to pay and get paid. So everything that we do there, our mission is we're simplifying payments for endless possibilities. So every time you hear about us, it's either we've launched a new feature, we're thinking of a new payment type, or everything is around the core objective in terms of how we've seen our vision. What is that core problem that you're solving? And I remember when I also joined, one of the things he also told me was, for you to be able to solve this problem, and Tommy mentioned it as well, you have to get knowledge. So I spent a lot of time helping financial service industries craft their retail strategy. I'd done that for over 15 years, right? But payment is different. There's always something different. So I remember he sent me to a number of accelerators where all I was doing all day was to tell investors that this is who we're about. Your elevator pitch, this is what we do. So it kind of started sinking into me. Beyond that, I think one of the other things is when you find the problem and you get the idea, you're now saying, does it work? I remember some of the things that he showed me. So when we do a new payment type, you have to experience it as yourself as an innovator. And we'll say, yes, but it just works, If you pay today, if I don't know how many of you have taken an Uber. Flutterwave powers that payment, behind Uber. So it just has to work. So when you're saying this is what I'm solving, is it actually doing that thing that it has set out to do? The second thing, one of the panelists mentioned it now, is you can actually innovate on an existing solution. It doesn't have to be something totally new, something novel, something nobody has done before. I recall in the thick of the pandemic last year, all of us were at home. It was a total lockdown. But even within the total lockdown, there were still some organizations that were allowed to go about. And we thought to ourselves that, okay, now that there's a lockdown, if you were not thinking, if you didn't have like an online presence where people could reach you, you actually have no means to eat, nothing, no revenue coming in. And, that was what birthed the Flutterwave store. And I remember a few people had said, well, there are lots of e-commerce websites. This was in April last year. Why are you doing something everybody has done before? So you have to focus. What is that thing that you're solving? And today, we have over 30,000 businesses on that platform. So, and the platform is simply, if you're a mom and pop, if you sell clothes from the back of your car, within 5 minutes, you're able to get your own e-commerce store. So you can innovate on an existing solution, right? So the other thing is, he has asked me to share, was you also have to plug into the community, because there are people that have done what you're doing before. They are way well ahead of you. I remember in the early stages too, we're always quick to say, okay, let's get on a call with so and so company. They've been through this before, just to get the knowledge and understand, what we needed to do. Then don't be afraid of failing. There's something that they say in the tech world, sprints, pilots. So in our organization, for instance, when we launch something new, we have staff, so we test it internally. We're very open. People bring their ideas. This didn't work. Because for you to take this to the market, you must have felt the pains of the customer as well, so that you ensure that all the kinks in the process, you're able to resolve it. Okay, so just to quickly round up, I'll just add a few other things. So understand your sources of revenue. So as you grow, you have the idea, you've scaled, you must understand who are the customers paying you, what are the sources of revenue, and then understand where your costs are coming from. Very critical. Another point is hire great people. So in the beginning stages, you're wondering, where will I get money to hire people? I'll leave that part to the people that will handle the last panel, that's the funding. But in terms of hiring, there are a few things that you have to think about if you're thinking about scaling and growing your business to that global scale. Number one, finance, legal, some of those things, you can't compromise on it, because your books have to be correct. You must also have a legal person that is helping you to review contracts. People don't really think about that, but those are some of the essential things. And then lastly, I just want to add that as you put together an organization, you must also be very clear about the sort of culture that you want to build for your organization from early on, so that you can begin to think about it, because before you know it, you were 30 people, you become 150 people, especially if the idea is something that is tested and you've launched into the market. I'm hoping that I've been able to pass GB's points across. Apologies again to our chief host, Pastor Koju, just a special message that he really wanted to be here. I'm hoping that, if you could still join us for questions at the end. Thank you so much. Yeah. Okay, so I'll start off the panel in my capacity as a member of Covenant Capital, and I would like to invite the following people to stage. Okay, while I'm waiting, I'll start with the people I know. So I'll start with Benga Omolokun. Benga Omolokun is the Executive Director, COO at V Bank. All right, thank you, Benga. I would like to invite Edward Popola Kauri Wise, CEO of Kauri Wise. And then Lola Enyolorunda from HESA Leaders. Okay. All right, interesting. So Gbenga just told me a fun fact about the people that I have on the panel, that they all went to school together and they were all in the same set. Can we appreciate them? All right, so another fun fact is that Gbenga and I worked very closely together in our former lives at KPMG. So Gbenga, I'm going to start with you. So Gbenga, tell me, just using VFD, right? At what point did you think, wow, we're growing, we're scaling, you know, and what do you think are the things that got you there?
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So the cat is out of the bag, but in any case, we started out in 2009. So when Bode would have been asking me to work on one proposal, by daytime I was KPMG consultant, by nighttime I was Batman. So from 2009 all the way to 2016, we essentially had like two lives, right? So every weekend, I know we used to work out of, I forget the hotel's name. But we used to work out of a hotel, right? So we'll meet for lunch. Whoever came late will buy, you know, food and everything for everyone. And things were actually really growing very fast. And in 2015, we basically said, look, if we don't sit down and focus on this thing, we'll never be more than a small-sized firm, right? Because it was demanding more and more of our attention, and all the principal parties were actually getting very senior in their organization as well. So at the time I was a manager in KPMG and there was a lot more responsibility coming through. So it didn't make any sense to continue living this kind of lives, right? Initially, you know, the business was small, it was okay, you could handle it in maybe 2 or 3 hours after work. But at that point when it started getting so large that, look, at every point in time, you couldn't really focus on what I was paid to do during the day. It became a distraction, and we then had to take a call and say, look, you know what, we all have to come and do this if we really want to create something great. And in 2015, we all made the decision, and by 2016, we all transitioned into the business, right? So yeah.
Yeah, so so that was the beginning, right? If I ask you that, what's that one thing, right, that got you to like a scale? Was there anything, any secret ingredients that you were like, okay, we used to have 100 customers, now we have 1,000. What was that one thing that you will say?
There's no one thing, to be honest, right? I think it's a combination of things, right? I think we've been very fortunate. We're not a one-man business, and we never started out as a one-man business, right? So we started out considering ourselves as creating a platform for wealth. And to that extent, when you're a platform, you have to have a lot of people on the platform. And each of these people bring in very different dynamics, right? So I'll say it's a combination of factors, right? And I think the most important thing is the people, right? So I'll give an example of Nonso, for example. Nonso is group CEO. Nonso is that guy that sees one thing and he's going to move heaven and earth to ensure it happens, right? But guess what? I'm almost a polar opposite of Nonso in the sense that when Nonso is trying to drive a train through, I'm like, okay, wait first now, but think about this. What about this? What about this? And the combination of all the people then ensures that we actually have like a robust idea, and we're also able to relentlessly pursue a goal or targets that we actually set through. So I think the most important thing for us that has helped us all this while is actually the people.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I'll just go to Edward, calorie-wise, right? So, you know, part of when you're growing and scaling, people will be like, where's the money? How do we get more people? Now we need to staff our support. We need to, so many things that come up as you grow and scale. Can you tell us some of these things that you faced? And if you were to start calorie-wise again, what are those things that you will be like, no, I'm not going to compromise on this. It has to be in place because I'm going to scale, I'm going to grow, I'm building a global brand.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. So we started Calorie-wise late 2016. Then I was working in a telecoms consulting firm. And then we started it as a side business, right? So have my co-founder and we went to the same school. And then we took a small office space on the island, just for the address, right? And then one of those evenings, we were discussing, okay, how could we get people, more people to invest, right? Because the traditional investment firms, they were in Ikoyi, they were in Port Harcourt, Abuja, right? So we thought of using technology, right, and combining it with our finance background. That was when we started. Now, we started this before we both left our previous jobs, right? So we're doing it as a side hustle, but then it wasn't so public. But then the moment we realized that, we needed to go public, we had to resign. And for the next 12 months, we were not paying ourselves, right? Because there wasn't even money to pay ourselves anyway. So we relied on the savings we had from our previous jobs and all that. So for the first year, there wasn't, we tried to, limit the costs as much as possible. We weren't paying a lot of people. We tried to hire people we could pay from our own pockets, right? So, of course, the challenge will always be there, for any new venture where you didn't, it's not like you started with one big bank, millions of dollars and all that. So the challenge was there. However, we found ways around relying on our personal finance. We found way, relying on people we could trust and people who could, afford not to take their market worth, right now. So we had people we hired and we're like, you know what, this thing is going to grow. Rather than collect a pay of 300K, 400K, could you collect half or 1/3 of it, in exchange for a token, in exchange for a stake in the business? And it worked for us. So I would say that is one way around, early stages of entrepreneurship, yeah. And that was how we navigated it ourselves, yeah.
All right, thank you very much. Okay, so my next question to Lola is, how do you scale and grow? So the question is, how do you scale and grow? Like, actually use tech to grow from 1,000 to 2,000. So everybody knows that you have a great product, right? You can see it, but you're stuck at 1,000. How do you take it to the market? What are the things that you need to do to really grow, get your name out there, and get the customers using you and recommending you?
Okay, thank you. In my experience, there are 4 things that are very critical if you're going to scale any business. The first thing is to have the right people. I love what you said from GB. It's like you have to have the right people. And when I mean people, not only your employees, but even the right clients. You have to have the investors, the support people. Like, you really have to have the right people. That's the number 1 thing to scale your business. The second thing, obviously, is cash is king, right, to scale, right? And you need to know your burn rate. You need to know all of those things. So you need to get cash. Most times, maybe you have to. I'm sure we'll take it in the funding round, right? So you really need to have cash. The third thing is you have to have a differentiated strategy. And I particularly use the word differentiated because I think when you start off a business, you can actually do a lot of things that other people are doing. But I think at the point of scaling, you really need to be differentiated. You really need to have something. I have to have a reason to move from this competitor to you at the point of scaling, right? And so having a truly differentiated strategy at that third point, at the scaling point is extremely essential. And then the fourth thing, and I'm sure Body will know this very well, is you need to execute. Like, your execution needs to be like on point. I like to call it like agile operations. You need to because challenges will come. You need to know how to move things very quickly, be very agile. As somebody's coming with this, you can actually quickly, you're not so stuck in your ways, you're not so stuck in your processes that you cannot adapt to the fast changes happening in your macro environment especially. So in all of my experiences scaling businesses, those are 4 things that I always see. And if you can nail those 4 things, you get the right people, right? You have a very differentiated strategy. You have people like Body, your operations team, really, driving things, they get it. And then you have the cash. Your chances of success are way higher. They're usually barriers, right? We can talk about the barriers and everything, but if you get these 4 things right, your chances of success increases.
Yes, please.
Okay, so in addition to what Lola said, I think for the sake of the small business people here, right? You're just starting out, you don't have a lot of capital. I think you should learn to rely on family and friends to use your product, right? Now, if you can't get your friends and family to use your product, your chances are pretty low, right? Because it shows that they don't want to tell you, but then maybe they don't kind of, get the product. So one way is to, get your family and friends to use it, because there are those that would refer your early customers, right? Until you raise that $20 million or something, try to work on your people, your early customers, serve them well, tell them to refer you to their other friends. One interesting thing we realized is that the first 1,000 people, that signed up with Cowrywise are family and friends. And everybody, and every day I, go back to the records to check, I see their email addresses, I'm like, this guy really believed, despite the fact that I sent an email that, could you try this thing out? And then the response wasn't so, but then they tried it. So I think it's important, before the resources come around to hire a lot of people, rely on family and friends, to use your product and give you referrals.
Yeah, thank you. Just to add to what you said, I remember the store example I gave as well. I remember all of us in the company actually signed up and had a store. That already is about 200 people that have a Flutterwave store. And then we put up our store, and then we had multiple ways of, okay, I have the product, I have the store, how do you now get people to do it? So all the things we're seeing on social media in terms of the push, the training, we're now having a grow your business seminar. So it's a combination of things, right? To ensure that people hear about it. But first, I agree that you have to start with your immediate community. So Gbenga, this next question is for you. The question is really, how do you think global in terms of your business? So, people can know that your app works in Nigeria. How do you position yourself for that global scale so that people in the UK, everywhere, can say, okay, I also know and I can use this app. And we have similar apps like Twitter. Everybody, it doesn't matter where you are, you're using it. So how do you position yourself? How do you think global as you begin to put things in place to scale and grow?
Okay, so I'll start off where we just left off around, when you start early, you start with your family and friends, right? Because I think, very importantly, those are the people that can actually become your advocates, right? And as you then expand, that friend of yours tells his own friend about it, and referral is a very, very, it's a very big deal, let me put it that way. Referrals can actually make or break your business, right? So if you're getting good referrals And guess what? That your brother, that your sister is a fantastic advocate for you because they will forgive your many faults initially, and on your behalf, they start to explain it to other people. Now, those other people start to use your product, and as you build that local base, the reality is problems are different from across geographic locations, right? But when two geographic locations mix, there's always a new problem that comes up. So that nexus, you could actually easily solve it when you have that large base that transcends those global geographic locations, right? So for us, what's very important is, first of all, building that customer base, ensuring that there's loyalty, and very importantly, interacting and talking to the customers and finding those people that have those issues in other jurisdictions. Because once you find out one person, there's a second person, there's a third person, there's a fourth person. The problem might start to be variable at some point, but the reality is the crux of the matter is there's an opportunity there, right? So for us, what we think is very important is creating that loyal base, first of all, talking to those people to understand what are the issues, what's important to you, what do you really like, what do you want to do, right? And going beyond what do you want to do to what would really solve that problem behind what you want to do. Because many times, if Apple had asked us if we wanted a touchscreen phone, all of us would say no, right? There's that popular thing about a car maker that said if I asked them what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse, right? So the important thing is there's a problem behind what a customer is telling you what they want. Solving that problem and understanding it across geographic regions, because obviously that problem will transcend one geographic region. For us, is the nexus of determining how to and where to.
All right, thank you, Benga. I just wanted to add also that some ideas is from the ideation phase that they are global in nature. So, for instance, for us, we're thinking we want people to be able to participate in global marketplace. As a merchant, don't worry about anything. Just focus on your business. When you come to our platform, it doesn't matter which payment type. If you're in Kenya, if you're using M-Pesa, we have it. If you want to pay with cards, we have it. If you're in Zambia and you want to pay with mobile money, we have it. So some ideas by nature at the ideation phase, you're already thinking, what global problem are we solving? Edward, this next question just for you as well. You're working, how do you, as Cowrie-wise, it's a regulated space. The person actually underlined it, like in Nigeria. How do you wake up every day to face the challenges? How do you get over some of these issues of regulation, costs, rising costs? How do you think about that and solve that as you're also growing your business?
Thank you. Regulation is key for any industry like financial services, right? Because you just don't want any Tom, Dick, and Harry to come and swindle people. Now, early on we realized this, and then we took steps, right, in our own little capacity. Now, in financial services, in Nigeria today, you could either be a bank or you could be an investment management firm, regulated by CBN or regulated by SEC. However, at the time we started, we wanted to, the premise of the idea was, okay, get people together, get them to save to a pool of funds together, and then help them invest it. Neither, regulators fit our model. Not because they didn't really fit, but then as at that time, we didn't have enough resources to even speak to the regulators. So what we did was to, do a little more research, and we found out that there was a license we could actually get that would allow us to do that at the scale we started with, right? Note that as you grow, your regulatory requirements might differ, right? But then as at the time we started, we found that there was a Cooperative Society Act that could allow us to gather funds from a lot of people and then invest it on their behalf. Now, they use this act everywhere else, everywhere in the country, in my village, in your village, right? So we were covered to an extent. Now, the other challenge we realized after settling for the cooperative society license was that Nigerians have a lot of trust issues, right? We've been beaten in the past, so if someone comes to say, I'm going to give you, let me take your money and give you, and save it for you, we are very, very careful. So to layer trust, on our service, we engaged a trustee. Now, a trustee is regulated by SEC, by the SEC. However, we could actually layer their service on top of the cooperative society license, we started to use. Now, that wasn't a traditional model. That wasn't a traditional way, of doing things. As a matter of fact, I think we were one of the few companies that started using that model, where you are a cooperative society. Yes, you can go and collect people's money. However, if you layer a trustee service on top of it, you become much more secure, because your resources, your funds are not held in your bank account. They are held in the trustee's bank account. So early on, that was how we were able to navigate regulation. However, after 3 years, we've had to speak with regulators, because the bigger you get, the more regulators, come for you. And then we've had discussions with both the SEC and the CBN, and then we are already working on, a more permanent regulation for our business. So the lesson here is, at every stage you are in, there is always something you could ride on, right? Don't wait until, for instance, you want to start another bank, or you want to start a bank. Or you want to start a V bank. You don't have to wait till you have, is it not 2 billion you people have now, 200 billion? They are the big boys. You don't have to wait till you have the volume of funds they have. You could start, from your little space. Then as you scale, know that the regulators are going to come for you. Then you can begin to work out, additional licenses to protect your business. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, Lola, so my question is, somebody asked, and I want to say it verbatim, that how do you stay alive as a business, with Naira devaluation, in a crisis? How do you justify price increases to customers? How do you get them to just be loyal and continue to increase their share of business with you, even in a crisis time?
Okay, that's a very, very interesting question. So sometimes in, I think 2014 or something, we had like a similar experience where we had just raised, and the basis of the raise was based on a project that was supposed to do billions. And then I think that was when Barry was coming in or something. Everything just went like, like that. I mean, within a month, everything just, the entire business was gone. The investors were frantic. They were like, all of our money in this and that. Everything just changed. But one of the things that I think really, really helped was the fact that it's a diversified business. That's number one. But more importantly was we started thinking of how to begin to earn in dollars, right? So as much as possible, if you can find other international clients, or if you can find a way, if possible, to actually just get a lot of dollar inflow. I think that really helped. Diversifying the business, making sure that you have multiple sources of income, so that if this particular stream of income streams really impacted, right, you could actually get other things. But most important, I think, is resilience, right? I think if you have a truly differentiated product and people really find value in the product that you're offering, I think it's easier to convince them on the price changes. It's like when I want to go to the market and I want to price, or I need to cook. if I go to the market and you tell me a bucket of tomato is now 2,000, I don't have an option. I still have to carry it and go. I'll go home, I'll be upset. That's the truth, right? So the more we get closer to our customers and we say, okay, this is what they really, really want, and we make sure that we have a truly differentiated product, I think when the prices increase, it won't be crazy increases, right? You won't just decide that, okay, you know what, I'm offering great value to you guys, so because of that, I'm going to charge a premium. It's like, it's reality. And once you're offering a truly differentiated product, you can easily, convince people. But for me, internally, from a business operations perspective, would be to try to diversify your streams. Don't stick to just one product line. And then as much as possible, try to have dollar inflow. That said, I'm still a very patriotic Nigerian. Spend the naira, please.
All right, thank you very much. I think one key thing that she has said that I can attest to is resilience. That's first thing that made you start in terms of the clarity of that picture. Like Tommy said, that clarity is very important because that's what will keep you going back, to work every day. When you see innovators, they've done it all. I'm sure if we ask all of these people, they've had 1, 2, 3 businesses that they've started that failed. So some of us are not wired like that because, I remember my early days. I'm like, this thing is broken. I just want to hide and go. I'm like, this problem is too much. How will we survive till tomorrow? So resilience is very key. Always going back to your North Pole and saying, what is that thing that made me start? And then you're able to trudge on. So, Benga, in the news, right, we're always saying VBank, your promotion, your marketing strategies. Can you tell us a bit about that? What do you think, what marketing strategy do you think has worked best for you in terms of how you communicate to your customers? Do these things really work? After you go all out, we see all the influencers you use and all. Does that really translate to your P&L, your profit and loss? Can you tell us a bit about marketing strategies? How do we deploy that as startups?
Okay, so we've been at this for quite a while, right? And I think for a lot of people, nobody would have heard about VBank until last year. Yes, we did launch last year, but the reality is we had a microfinance bank since 2015. That's when we got our license. So because of our backgrounds, we'd always been, a lot of us are ex-KPMG, we're always very quiet. Nobody wants to be in the limelight. But the reality is we had grown very successful by word of mouth, right? We weren't out there, we weren't advertising, a lot. We were talking to that friend who would also talk to his friend. And that's how we're able to manage the risks. That was how we're able to create that first core base. But the reality was, after that, it's very difficult to scale very fast if you continue doing that, right? So we needed to create a structure that allowed us get to a lot of people very quickly, get a lot of feedback, correct perhaps some of the issues that will come in and all. So the answer is yes, those strategies do work because, first of all, it puts you in the faces of people, right? And curiosity, they say, kill the cats. But the fact, the second half of that saying, a lot of people don't remember it, is that but satisfaction brought it back to life, right? So when you see something so many times, you get curious, right? And you want to try it. You try it once, you see what they've been saying. Okay, it's true, Sha. I like it, right? Or I don't like it, and this is why I don't like it. So for us, those avenues help us, put everything out in front of a lot of people by repetition, by seeing it, by seeing the messaging that you're passing, by also getting those core loyal people to also give you references as well. It helps bolster those large marketing activities. So if you hadn't heard of me before, once you see it somewhere and someone in your network says, oh yeah, I've used it, it's really nice, this is it, this is what the key factor is, I love it, it gets those people to start using it, right? So yes, it works, but it's something you do when you have that core base that you can scale and build on.
All right, thank you very much. Very key. I remember when I told one of my uncles I was joining Flutterwave, nobody knew what they were, but I was able to tell him that when you're booking your next ticket to Abuja, pick flutter wave on airpiece. You know, it was, and then he picked it. It was like, but the flutter wave, is there. You know, so those are some of the things. You know, you get the people that you know to talk about the product. All right, Edward. My last question to you is, if the Edward pre-Cowrie-wise, like when you were starting off, was standing in front of you, what's that one thing that you would tell him that, you know, as an advice on this journey?
If he was standing before me, I'll tell him to take more risk, right, early on. When you're younger, that's when the society can kind of forgive you when you make mistakes, right? If you start a business, you could afford to start another one. For instance, the young man was pitching and then he already had 7 ideas, right? He wanted to spit out everything. So when you're younger, you have, it's easy for you to make mistakes and then pull yourself together and try again and try again. It gets difficult, you know, the older you get. Not that it's impossible, it just gets difficult. So I would advise the younger Edward to jump ship early, to take more risk, you know, early on, take bolder steps, you know, try new things, try to, you know, accept failure, right? So there's one thing about, like one of the panelists said that one of the reasons, I think it was Bankley that said it, that we don't take a lot of risk because we are too afraid to fail. You know, we are afraid of what people will say. I mean, how will I tell? For instance, if early on at Cowrie-wise, when I left my job, people were like, are you crazy? I mean, I was working for MTN, I was comfortable, there was no issue, but then I couldn't explain it to my friends. Like, I'm resigning, I'm going to Cowrie-wise, what's that? You know, and we hired someone recently from Stanbic, and then one of the regulators was asking the person, you know, why are you going? I mean, you are leaving Stanbic, like a whole Stanbic. So if you look at all those things, if you look at the society, you know, the peer pressure, you might not want to, you know, try a lot of things. So I will tell my younger self to, you know, try a lot of things, accept failure. You can fail multiple times, try again, you know, try again. Yeah.
All right, thank you. In closing, I'll just say, you just have to keep at it, right? There'll be a lot of challenges, like I said, but I think our panelists have done a great job, and I'm hoping that we've all taken 1 or 2 things from everything that has been said today. Thank you so much to everyone for listening, and thank you to our panelists. Thank you very much.
Sorry, I'd like to take a photograph. Thank you very much. Thank you, Bode. Thank you, the entire panel. Okay, for those of us who were not around when we started, we actually had a competition where we had techpreneurs and startups send us ideas, just 60 to 120 seconds videos on an idea that they were thinking about and what's the target audience, and then what tech solution, very easy to use tech solutions to solve such problems. We've had 2 pitches already today, and I'll be calling on Olubori Paul. The name of his company is Golearn, and it's an edutech app that he will be discussing with us. You have 5 minutes, please. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Olubori Paul, and I'm the founder of Golearn. Okay, so Golearn is a learning platform whereby we teach young people digital skills and other skills. Not all skills are digital. Makeup is not digital. And the reason why we've decided to do this, I'm a graduate of geography education. I studied geography education, and till now, I've not been able to find placement for myself in the Nigerian job industry. And I realized that so many other people too can't find a placement because the people of the rich, the children of the well-connected are already fixed at the places where people like us, that we came from a very poor background, should be. So Walter studied botany, but Walter is presently a financial analyst because he decided to take his own life in his own hands by learning how to trade stocks and cryptocurrency. I pride myself as a successful forex trader because that is how I was able to take myself out of the circle of low-income earners and become something, just sitting behind the charts and trading and making financial decisions from other countries. Okay, so we discovered that we have been able to help ourselves. We're a group of people, young people from 18 to 28 years old, and we discovered that we can help other people also. That is what I'm showing on the screen. He knows all the botanical names for every plant in botany, but right now, he understands more about the financial market, about stocks. Right now, we just bought a stock of a particular company that is going to produce the next 5G technology around the world. So that's a great investment on our side. Okay, so what we are doing at Golearn is we are providing quality education, quality skills that people can lay their hands on and provide funds for themselves and cater for themselves. And also, what we do is that we provide, we pay our learners for learning. We pay our users for learning. Today, we are 29 days old, and we've been able to generate over 2,000 visits to our website and over 355 subscribers. To learn any of these courses is 20,000 naira. And this is how we generate funds or capital for our users, because it's a thing to learn a skill. It's another thing to have capital to start up. Our makeup artist tutor is a medical doctor in the making, and she's a self-trained makeup artist. So we want to also, and she's using the money she's making from makeup jobs to send herself to medical school. So we want to also encourage a lot of people. That is why we have come up with the Golearn platform. And then when you refer your friends and family to the platform, after paying for a course with 20,000 naira, we pay you 10,000 naira back for telling your friends about us. And then we pay out every Friday so that you can have fast access to funds and cash to do something tangible with your business. And right now, in just 29 days, we have been able to empower over 20 people, not just with cash, but with funds. We have seen their businesses. They've taken a course from our website, and we see how promising they are. And then we have financed them from the other income that is coming to the company. And we have been able to do that. So Golearn is a learning platform where anybody, even without no knowledge about any skill or any of these courses, can lay their hands on and become, maybe not totally a professional, but at least they can start something and then go further to keep growing in that area that they have chosen. Thank you.
Okay, thanks a lot for the pitch. So, this sounds like a Ponzi scheme. So how do you convince me that it's not a Ponzi scheme? Because if on your platform I pay 20K and I refer Edward, out of my 20K you give him, out of his own 20K you give me 10K, right? Which means his own 10K, if I refer two people, let me put it that way, right? Out of their money, you give me something, and it continues to cascade there. What exactly does it take to fund this platform? Because I'm assuming you're having teachers come on the platform to teach people, right? Various skills. So you're going to pay those people too. Yes. There's technology costs, which in reality is not cheap as you continue to scale. So where exactly is the money for you as the platform holder? And how do you also convince me that it's not a multi-level marketing Ponzi?
All right, thank you, sir. Okay, Aboki first was showing on the video the other time. Aboki charges 1 million naira for an offline class in Forex. So this is intellectual property. giving at a at a cheap rate to people. So that is not Ponzi. We are giving value. We are even giving more. We are giving value at a cheap price and still paying you back. You understand? And what we are paying is a fraction of what is left. And as we scale, well, that is why we are here, so that we can do more with the help of more investors.
Okay, thank you. Interesting. So you teach people how to trade Forex, how to trade crypto, and so on and so forth, right? They have to put their money in at some point to kind of trade?
Yeah.
Okay, so how do you, how do they manage risk? You know, so you pick a random person on the road and then give me 20K, I'll teach you how to trade Forex, put all your life savings there because you're gonna make money. How do you communicate the risk involved in this kind of businesses?
All right. Actually, not every one of them want to start trading. And what we don't just have Forex and crypto. We have web design, we have product design, we have digital marketing, we have other courses there. Those are just like the ones that most people are coming in for, that is kind of popular presently. Okay, and then on the website, one of the things that we taught very importantly is risk management. Risk management, and there is a disclaimer. Nobody is going to ever say you should use your life savings. We want you to know that you can make money from these skills if you understand how it works. And before you go even into the details of the courses, the tutor already explained the risk involved, that this is not a financial advice. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. You must understand how this works. And so that's why we are different. We're not just interested in you just bringing your money and just, okay, do this, go and put your money in there. When you put money in the account, we are not benefiting anything from it. But we need to also put you through the process that, hey, the market might be volatile sometimes. You need to take it one step at a time.
So you pay your students to learn?
Sir?
You pay your students to learn?
Yes.
You pay your students to learn?
Yes.
You've not told us the number of courses you have, the number, how long it takes to learn, duration, and then the level of expertise they're going to have after they have learned. So we don't have an idea of what your curriculum is exactly. And then if your fee is just 20,000 and you're still paying them to learn, and you pay someone else 10,000 for referral.
No, that is a part where we are
I'm trying to understand the business model. How do you now make money? How do you run the office?
Okay, we have 10,000 left to us after paying them 10,000 from the 20,000. So we as a company have 10,000 naira left to us.
How many weeks?
Is that what?
There's so many missing links. How many weeks? Is the learning only physical? Do they learn online?
No, it's online.
Okay, so who pays for data?
Is that what?
There's so many missing links.
It's just like Udemy.
How many courses do you teach?
Right now we have 10 courses, paid courses and 5 free courses.
And you pay the students that are learning all the 10 paid courses?
No. It's only when they refer someone. You understand? When they come to the platform, not everybody wants to be an affiliate by referring. Every platform has an affiliate part that they do. That, okay, tell somebody about us, we pay you this particular percentage of whatever the business they do with us. You understand? So not everybody wants to do that. Just want to come and learn. If you don't learn, we are not paying you anything. If you don't refer anybody to us, we are not paying you anything. It's not an automatic payment. It's until when you, guy, I just learned Forex on.
Okay, so beyond Forex trading and crypto, what other things do they learn, and what the students that have passed through you, what are they doing right now?
Okay, so like I said, some people did not come to actually become a trader. Like, people want to have
beyond trading, what other courses do you teach?
We have digital marketing.
Okay, so digital marketing.
We have
the
web
people
design.
that have come to learn digital marketing and web design, where are they right now?
We have a community.
Do you have any graduates of that now?
Yes,
so what are they doing?
We have community. So the tutor is already in charge of those communities, on Telegram, whereby they engage them time to time with activities. Because you can't finish learning and say you want to go and start you want to go and start something. That is why we have the tutelage of the mentors that is going to help them to put them through. They can bring in a project into the community, and then they solve it together. Thank you.
I
have a question.
Just last one. I think I see that you've gotten a lot of flack for the payment, but I think first it's a great idea, but there's a thin line. I've always thought that the old Ponzi scheme thing, there's a side to where you can harness, if you can build it into a sustainable business, there's a side to which it can be harnessed. Now, it depends on your costs. Maybe the 50% is a lot, but like you said, it's intellectual property, and you need to get your storytelling right. Now, if what you should be charging me is 10K, and you chose to charge me 20 to pass on the 10K, then it might be fine. But it also depends on what's your cost of serving them that you are giving back 50,000. They are beginning at 50% of it. So I just want to save you a little and say that what you should be doing is in telling the story right, because there's a thin line, and people will only see the side where you're turning the business into MMM, but I also think that there's a way that this thing can be skewed and turned into a sustainable business if you get it right.
All right, thank you, I appreciate that. So we also have a YouTube channel where we teach simply financial education and talking to people about money.
Okay, my comment is not actually a question. It's more, I think you're doing something great, but I feel with your pitch, you've kind of just confused us with what I consider just a marketing hack you are exploring. So you're executing marketing by saying, for us to capture users, we want to pay users to bring more users. You might not keep that till next year. So that's not part of your business, really. It's just something you are doing now for marketing, for acquisition, right? It's your customer acquisition plan. It might just last for 6 months. So focus on what you're doing. You have a product. You teach people how to develop skills that they are going to use for a lifetime to make money. Think about how you're going to make money from these people probably going forward, because maybe the issue is these people want these skills, they can make money from the skills. Should I teach them for free so that they pay me over the next 10 years every month? Or should I collect money from them upfront and then teach them so that whatever it is they make going forward is their business? Do I become an agency that helps them to get clients afterwards? Think around that. I think you're onto something, and don't mix and confuse people with things that will make them discredit you.
Thank you very much, Golearn. Okay, so we're going to the last panel. The last panel will be speaking about funding. So if you have any questions, please just write them out and give them to the ushers who will be standing around. I'll be calling Mr. Akiolusoji Akinyele to anchor the next section. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for waiting it out. So we've done ideation, we've done scaling. I think it's time to do some discussions around funding. This is the point where they cut soap for you. All right then. Okay, so I'd like to introduce, in no particular order, we have Tomilola Adejano is the CEO of 5554 Technologies and also Bankley. Bankley is a Nigerian fintech company. Can we just bring Tomilola up? Please welcome her with a resounding round of applause. And for those of you that joined early enough, she was our keynote speaker at the start of the program. I'd also like to welcome Chukwuemeka Fred Agbata. We call him CFA for the social media warriors amongst us. He's the regional director for Africa of the Founder Institute. And I also like to invite Musti Mustafa, who is the CTO and co-founder of Kuda Bank. A round of applause for him. Welcome. You're welcome. Okay, so over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to be discussing with this gentleman and lady around their stories. It's the innovation journey, yes? So we'll take as many stories as we can while you think about your questions, and as you listen to their stories, hopefully a few more questions will come to you. I'm going to start with Tomilola, and I told her I was going to start with her actually, for obvious reasons, but more importantly. So Tomilola calls herself the Alajo Shomolu of the digital Alajo Shomolu, of the country, and that's for the young people amongst us. Alajo Shomolu is a popular name for, how do you even say it in English? Alajo Shomolu. So she's basically digitized the Ajo, the Esusu, and the Adache program. So if you know, cooperative saving together and getting things together. So thrift savings. But why I like Tomilola's story is that, in March 2021, her company announced, a $2 million raise, in a seed round. And my question to you really is, you're a lady in a space that, and like I said, this is a challenge, in the world, in a space that is perceived to still be male-dominated. Secondly, you are deploying a model that basically works with the unbanked in what I'll call outside the bubble, of the financial space. How were you able to still raise $2 million in all of that? So 2 questions in one, if I'm correct.
Yeah, thank you. I think I'll just speak from some of the things I said during my keynote. I think the first one was the conviction. The second is the storytelling. And then the third is support. People don't talk enough about the support you need around you. I'm so happy to see Musty here, because I remember sitting in 2019 with Babs, and he said, we're at this coffee shop, and he was like, Tommy, you need to go and raise funds. And I'm going to say this because as a female founder, like you said, in a male-dominated space, I think females tend to shy away from certain things, or maybe they don't take enough risk as the guys do. I shared out, I said no to money. I don't think any guy would do that. So I think the first one is the conviction is what you sell. Fundraising at the early stage is an art. So as seed, pre-seed, it's not about your numbers or your tracking. You might have a little bit of scale, but you might have a little bit of people that are already using it. But what they are investing in is you, the story, and how you can convince them that you're the right person to solve the problem. So that storytelling has to come from a place of deep conviction, because if you are not convinced, how are you going to tell someone to believe you that you're able to not take their money and then go and party? We've had cases of people taking money and going for MBA or stuff. So it's very critical for the conviction. Like I said, support. Fundraising is something I was scared of. I truly was. I did the pre-seed, about $300,000. It felt easy. But when I wanted to do the seed, which was the main fundraising, I knew I needed help. So the first thing was I went to build a business strategy. I built the model. I ticked every box so well that when the investor said, what about this, we had it. But I worked with a consultant. So we built a model that was low base and high case. So we say, what if this scenario, what if the economy, then we hit the base case? What if this happened? At the worst case scenario, this is what the valuation is. So you already did every work, so you disarmed them. And that was how support, but I couldn't do it alone. I remember times when I'm on a call, I had someone there who is listening, because I didn't even have anybody who I've not engaged with investors like that before. And I had a friend or a consultant who was on it, and she would DM me and say, you didn't answer that question right. You need to go back, and you're not hearing their main question. Go back, and all of that happened, and by the time we're on the 10th or 15th call, I knew what to say. So that support is very critical.
Interesting. Thank you very much for that. So I hear you, in a nutshell, you were ready. You disarmed them, as you explained. But I also like the honesty with which you brought to it, where you said, you were very scared, to take this money, in the sense. And, of course, we've heard these stories. But, just to, let's not make any assumptions here. I want to give CFA this question. So you are the Regional Director and Founder Institute, which is basically like a seed accelerator program. I want you to basically take us through the ABCs of funding. I've put it that way. So we hear pre-seed, seed, Series A, Series B, Series C. I don't know where all the series end. So, let's just, for the avoidance of doubt, you know how we like to form that we know these things. Let's just explain. Can you just take us through, pre-seed, seed, Series A, B, C? Let's stop at C today. Yeah? Okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I serve as the region director for Founder Institute, but we also run a VC company called Pacer Ventures. Now, if you talk about things around fundraising, the truth is that for most people in this room, or maybe 90% of founders or startup founders, you probably will just need to stop at the Series A level. So basically, you have the pre-seed level, which Tommy talked about, the pre-seed level. Then you go to your seed level. You go to your Series A. If you are going to be blessed to be a unicorn like Flutterwave, you do B and then you do C. But honestly, on each of this round, there are a number of things your investors would want to ask for. So I think that for startup, most startups will be fine at Series A. They probably exit, sell off for something else to a bigger company, and move on. But the pre-seed is where your friends and family, in some cases fools, will give you money. And then your seed is your very first official fundraising round. That's where you have to now engage, in most cases. Sometimes, actually, if you are a second or a third-time founder, your pre-seed can actually be very official, right? Because your earlier investors believe in you, and it's really, one of the things we say in Founder Institute is that we believe in the person first, not even the product or the service or whatever, right? It's about the individual. And so for many VCs, many investors, yes, the idea makes sense, the product makes sense, but how about the person? It's very critical for a lot of investors because remember, unlike the regular investments, like, the banks where you have to drop a collateral, in this case, what really is a collateral? So it means that you can actually take an investor. I've seen it happen in this ecosystem in the early days where people raise money and they literally blow the money. Like literally, they blow the money. Because honestly, what would the investor do, right? It's really, there's nothing really you can do, unlike the case where the bank holds your collateral, right? So you move on to your seed level, which is the first official, and then when you hit your key KPIs in your seed level, then you may qualify for a Series A level, like Bankley did, right? So those are the stages, and then Series B is, you finished, you're about to scale majorly. Let's say you want to scale to more cities, and you want to hire more hands, right? And you think about the Series B, and then, if you're a Flutterwave, then Series C. Series D is very rare, and the guys who usually do Series E are the guys like Tiger Global, because it's about when you're about to do your IPO, just pre your IPO. So I think that's far-fetched. So, just focus on pre-seed, seed, and then Series A.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. I like what you said with pre-seed, we're friends, families, and even fools. And no offense to anybody, don't worry, we're still in church, so we can, at least somebody said, oh, foolish Galatians, so we're covered. So Musti, I want to take you up on that because, your story with Kuda Bank is, so you got about $1.6 million, and then you went to $10 million, and then you went to $25 million. So if nobody's going to cut soup for us, you have to cut soup for us in this matter. So, but what I want to understand is, and it's quite sequential. So the question really is, how were you able to sustain that level of investor interest in your, in this series of funds that you raised? Essentially, your story.
Hello. Thank you so much for the question. Okay, I mean, the guys have talked about a number of things, but I think for us, right, one of the things that stands out is the story and the problem we're trying to solve. I'm going to use myself as an example. I mean, while I was an undergraduate at University of Ilorin, there are two particular events that happened to me personally, and that informed how to start working on after graduation. So I went to an ATM. I wanted to use the ATM to recharge my phone. Typically, I usually do around 300 naira, 100 naira at a time. For some reason, I typed in 30,000 into the ATM machine. And yeah, 30,000 was taken out of my account. This was way back, like 2008. That was all the money I've got. In fact, I was supposed to pay school fees, pay hostel fee out of the money. But then, all of a sudden, I was holding 30,000 naira in my, on my line, my MTN line, right? That was a huge, huge problem. I mean, eventually, I was able to convert some of the money to cash. And then, another event that happened was, we were done with exam, and then I called my guardian then that, okay, I was supposed to be coming home, please send me money for transport. And then they sent 3,000 naira, exactly 3,000 naira. I had no money in my account. And 3,000 naira was exactly the transport fare that would take me back home. And then when the money came in, I went to the ATM to go withdraw, and then I was getting insufficient funds. Wow, how can I get an alert of 3,000 naira now, and then I wanted to withdraw 3,000 naira, and they are telling me insufficient fund. And then I checked my balance, and it was 29 something. What has happened? The bank has charged me. You know, for whatever, maybe it's SMS fee or something, they've charged me. This particular story happens, I'm sure we must have this kind of experience for us. And then I graduated, I started working in banks. I've worked in a couple of banks as a software engineer, senior software engineers and stuff. But I still didn't have enough power to make those sort of changes. And then Providence brought myself and Babs together. That is my co-founder. And of course, pragmatism sustained us up until this point. But the mission, and it was very relatable mission. In fact, back in 2018, there was a research that was released that an average African or a Nigerian would spend about 10% of our annual income on bank charges. That was huge. There are two main impediments to financial inclusions in this country. It is not education. It is not internet. It is not enlightenment. It is the cost of banking and accessibility to banking. And that is what Kuda is fixing. You will never have to pay for banking as long as you are a Kuda customer and you are using it for your personal use. That is a sustainable business. That is our promise to our customer. And it is clear. And we've been able to tell our stories in a compelling manner to people who are interested in the problem, all right? So telling story is important. Also, telling it to those who are interested in the problem is equally important. And then who you are as a person, as a founder of the business, because ultimately what CFA talked about is that, I mean, it's not like it's a loan. It's not a loan. It's an investment. They're literally taking a risk on you. You are the collateral as the founder. You must be credible. Your reputational currency must be very, very high. You must be someone of reputable person. You must have track record of success, track record of relentlessness. You must have proven that you can be backed and you will be able to return not just value for the money they've put into you, but tremendous one for that matter. And you would affect your immediate community in a positive manner. So I think if putting all these things together, what has so far helped us to sustain investors' interest in our business. And that is something that keeps still growing, even up until today.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that. So, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard the name of the soap is Providence. So, so if you want to find it, but this is the time where we take questions from you. So if you have a few questions, pen them down. I think the ushers are going around to get a few, or if you can just speak to any of the gentlemen or ladies in the Covenant Capital T-shirts, and they can attend to you. But while we're doing that, let me come back to CFA. So I like what Musti said, that, look, it's about a compelling story and all of that. But, I mean, you've seen, you work with these people. You work with, let me use the word, a dime a dozen, investees in the sense, or, startup techpreneurs, innovators, and whatever names you want to use. But it's not just a story, right? I mean, what is it in that character, sitting with an investor's hat? What is the soft, the soft skills, if you like? What are the soft skills that convince an investor to look at a startup that has no record in the sense, of anything done before, and say, okay, let me put my money in here and see how it goes?
Okay, very interesting question. So now, the truth is, once your character is confirmed, right, an investor says, okay, you know what, I love this person, I can work with this person. The second very important aspect of this is storytelling, which he talked about, and your ability to pitch. So there's a gentleman in this place, Loister, he's somewhere to my left. When he joined Founder Institute, one of the complaints that, so his product is good, what he's trying to build is good, but one complaint that a lot of mentors who came around used to complain about is the fact that he's a very reserved person. So when he's pitching, his voice tonality is low, and then there's no energy in his conversation. And if you remember, that was one point everyone kept hammering. So your ability to tell your story in a very convincing way about the problem you're trying to solve to a potential investor is very critical. So it means that the energy, like I hear this all the time. So I believe in this product. I think you are credible, but I don't see passion. And there's one thing, I mean, anybody who is following the Kuda story, one of the things you will know is the storytelling around the Kuda brand, right? I mean, Kuda is doing it so well, right? So lots of storytelling. Even though sometimes there's a backlash, but at least you try to tell a story, right? So if you are credible and your investor finds you credible, you must be able to pitch and tell your story. And that is one of the key things we do at Founder Institute. At Founder Institute, we ensure you pitch almost every evening over a 14-week period. You pitch for 1 minute, so we have what is called a 1-minute pitch, the 3-minute pitch, and a 5-minute pitch. Because at every point in time, you must be able to convince your prospective investor. See, fundraising is hard. Like, when I used to be on the other side, I used to think it was easy. Right now, I'm also fundraising for the venture capital company. So it means that I need to find what you call the LPs, the limited partners. So it goes through almost the same process that the startups go through as well. Like, there's no difference. So you have to tell the LP why they must trust you with X amount of money, what is your thesis, who are you going to invest as a startup, and how can you guarantee them of a return? So it's the same cycle. So even on the VC side, the VC companies, that's the investors, also have to convince their own senior brothers and sisters that they can return a profit or on the investment. So, and even in that case, it's about the conviction, right? So we have to touch like a soft spot in that VC's heart to say, okay, give us your money, in the LP's heart, give us your money. We will be able to find good startups like Bankley and back. And then so Bankley must be able to tell us that, see, you guys, if you give me this money, I can assure you that I will live up to expectations. So it continues. So even as you go to the next round as a startup founder, you will meet the higher level of investors. And if you're going to be like a Flutter Wave, you probably meet a Tiger Global, and the panel might just be like a long panel where you have to convince them that the $200 million they are bringing is safe.
Thank you. I got that point. So 1-minute pitch, 3-minute pitch, 5-minute pitch. So Lady Bankley, we're putting you on the spot now. In a 1 or 2 minutes pitch, what I want to ask is, and we have to take the question around the gender matter. How do you, right, compete effectively for the same, for want of words, portfolio of funds, right, as a lady in, for want of words, a man's world?
Thank you. Mercy said something. He said, not just telling a compelling story, but telling it to the right audience. I think there's an understanding of the audience that you're speaking to that is necessary. So we said fundraising is hard. You will get a lot of no's, but those that need, that wants to solve the problem, maybe they might even have a gender lens. Maybe they see the CUDA might be solving for the banks, those that are stressed, that are already banked but have challenges. Bankly might be solving for those that are not banked. So the kind of investors you would be talking to might be entirely different. So you say there's a single pool of, it's actually not a single pool of fund, because a fund might be saying this is the segment we're looking for, this is the particular problem we're trying to channel these resources to. So that's the simple answer.
Okay, thank you, and thank you for correcting that. So not a single pool of funds in the sense. I mean, there are different investment objectives and things like that, so I understand that. Yeah. To Musti, so people have talked about, when you talk about the valuation now, how do you, so we have the unicorns, and then we step a little lower than that. But how do you create that sense of valuation? And I use that word sense because an old, if you like, well, he's now old, an old mentor in this country once told me that, look, anybody can do IRR, anybody can do MPV, the internal rate of return, net present value, and all of that. But, tell me, why must I invest in this business, as a young analyst back then? But so my question to you is, how do you bring together, so we've talked about the story, we've talked about the character of the person. Now let's talk about, the numbers. How do you bring together that sense of valuation, to make it compelling enough to get the funds?
Okay, thanks. Yeah, there are different criteria, right, that you can use. Because there are different businesses that exist. So I'm going to speak mostly on the ones that I'm a player, which is the consumer, the mass market, because typically there's a sort of rule of thumb that exists in the VC investment world, right? There's a price tag that investors typically put on number of customers, per customers that you have in your business. So if you operate a business that plays in a mass market, typically you could derive your valuation by placing a price tag on each customer that you have. You could place a price tag on each active customers that you have. You could also place a price tag on each active paying customers that you have. For instance, if you are a business that has, say, 100,000 users, as an example, based on a similar business that exists in another client, different from yours, when they were at 100,000, your growth stage, what was their valuation like? So you could derive some value, some figures from that basic comparison, right? And then, again, the potentials of because valuation is perception. It's not really real figures, right? It's all about what could this business be. Another rule of thumb is if an investor is putting money in your business now, they're typically looking at what returns are you able to give back to me in the next 3, 5, or 7 years maximum. So if you can demonstrate that you can give me 10 times of my money that I'm giving you now in the next couple of years, then yeah, you can justify whatever valuation you are giving me now. So there are different metrics that you can use. It's all about just having a good understanding of the ecosystem, having a good understanding of the investors you're talking to, what they've done before, having a good understanding of what is happening in your industry generally, and then you can use all this data to come up with something.
Thank you. Thank you for clarifying that. So I have this. You want to add a point to that? Please go ahead. Please.
It's always a hot topic between founders and investors. It's always a hot topic. There's always a pushback.
Okay, so what's your pushback?
I mean, no, usually you negotiate. Most times investors will say, I mean, so the guy I mentioned, Ayo there was a time somebody wanted to invest in that particular guy, Loystar. By the way, he has improved so much. And he put valuation at X. The potential investor called me and said to me, CFA, why would this guy put his valuation at this figure? I feel it's too much.
Okay.
And the deal went, I'm not sure the guy went back. So there's always this argument between founders and VCs on what the valuation should be.
Okay, so let's take you on that argument. And
no, it's just a quick one. I think the stage matters. We asked the question previously about the pre-seed, the seed, the Series A. I still say that funding is both an art and a science. At the early stage pre-seed, it's not about the number of customers or the number of revenue. It's about you and you as a collateral. But the minute you get to places like Series A, it's not an art. So at those first two stages, it's an art. It's about your ability to tell a compelling story. But when you get to Series A, Series B, nobody cares whether you're a good person. Everybody is looking at what have you done. So at that point, the negotiations it's easier. Because it's just get the work done, prove that you're growing at this growth rate, and they come to do it could be a revenue multiple, it could be comparables. So you're talking about what similar companies in this industry have done, what has Kuda raised or what has VBank raised that Kuda at what valuation, comparables and revenue multiples, and those are then the science, how you then say this is how the valuation will be. So I think in the early stage it might be harder, the argument is back and forth. In the later stage is more, this is what I've done, take it or leave it.
Good stuff. So I want us to spend the next, last 3 minutes that we have discussing something that I think, and I've looked through the questions, a number of them come around that. So in this funding matter, there's a give and there's a take. Now, I think it's the take that people are usually now, very reluctant about, where you hear what's the equity stake I'm taking in this business, for the sake of $1 million, $2 million, or even $100,000. And, you hear of investors like CFA asking for, should we put a percentage to that right now? So I want Lady Bankley. I think you should trademark that name. I like it. I just called you Lady Bankley, so I think you should trademark that name, and then you give me the IP fees for that, right, when you're done. Okay, so I want you to answer that, and I also want CFA to answer that. What is, at pre-seed stage, what is a comfortable, equity stake, or at seed stage, what is a comfortable equity stake to, let's use the word, let go in exchange for funding? Did you get that?
Yeah, I got that. That's actually, Sebastian is laughing because
you're at that stage now,
it's
yes?
a difficult question. No, I'm not. I'll say that I don't think you should give off 50% of your company. I've actually been talked to, I've been at a pitch before, and they said, how much do you want to give up? And the guy said, the team were willing to give us 70%. And I'm like, wait, do you want to be employees? Why are you starting a company when in your pre-seed? So I say, I don't think you should go beyond, it's rare, but I don't think you should go beyond 20. Okay. In fact, 20 is a stretch, but 15, 20.
So 20. Before CFA answers, I noticed how Musti cringed. So I need him to give us a number. So what is comfortable? Because there are people here, and that's their greatest challenge. That look, once I start asking for $1 million or $100,000, somebody's telling me to, bring 70% of my idea or something. And there's this angle of, look, 100% of zero is zero. Right? So what exactly do you want? Do you want the business to run, or you just want to call it Soji and Sons? Yeah. Okay, so please go ahead.
Yeah, I think To be honest, except you want to be an employee, I don't see any investor asking you for a 50% of your business. Don't take them serious, to be honest. But be that as it may, there is no rule or an equation you can use to measure what you should give. There are reasonable terms that you can agree to. There are standards. You're not the first company that will raise at your stage. There are other people that have done it. But I think rule of thumb basically is that depending on the value, apart from the money that the investor is bringing to the table, because investors are bringing in so many other values. In fact, while investors are doing due diligence on you, you as well should be doing due diligence on the investors. It's not just about the money. It's about their own reputation, their names, what other values can they bring to your business as well. So, I mean, typically I think 20% should be like tall order already. It is a tall order.
Okay, so we're voting now. So 20% Musti, 20% Bankley. So CFA, bring it home.
So Musti is right. I mean, there's no formula. They're both right. There's no formula. In Founder Institute, if you come to Founder Institute, which, by the way, if you're about to start, you should make sure you come to Founder Institute. It's 4% that Founder Institute will take. And then at VC, we've negotiated 10%, negotiated 15%, 7%. It just depends, right? But make sure you don't start without trying to understand what the role FI, and even places like YC will take, that's Y Combinator, YC will take 7%. So there's no hard and fast. It just depends on the value you are getting from that, either the investor or the community or the accelerator, in the case of YC and Y Combinator, or even 500 startups. So it depends.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And right on the dot of time, I think that this was a very useful conversation. So in terms of stakes, we're looking at between 4% to 20%, if you like. But really, it's about doing your due diligence just the same way the investor is doing due diligence on you. I like the idea of your character, telling your story in a very compelling way, and perhaps asking yourself this question, that if you were the investor, would you invest in yourself? I think that's an important question to ask yourself. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for listening. A round of applause for our panelists. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you. Okay, we'll have a quick picture.
Thank you so much for that last panel. We'll take one more pitch, and then we'll be rounding off for today. The last person could not make it because he could not get a flight from where he's coming from, so we will be doing a video. So in terms of feedback, he will be listening in. So what we just require from the panelists is, please, when he's done with the 5-minute presentation, please just give us any feedback that you have. He'll be listening in. Thank you very much. Project 3, please.
My name is Stanley Anibog, and today I am going to be presenting T3. T3 stands for Touch Free, which the tagline is creating cleaner hands and a safer world, one door at a time. So T3 was designed by Akeko's Nigeria, which is a STEM company that empowers young Nigerians with STEM education and solve problems in Africa using technology. So T3 was designed to solve one major problem, the COVID-19 virus and the spread of the COVID-19 virus. People don't sanitize their hands during the pandemic, and it's sad that the majority of us actually haven't sanitized our hand for the past 2 months upon we are in a pandemic. So we decided to solve this by inventing a device that makes sure that people sanitize their hand to reduce the spread of the virus. So our solution is T3, which offers an affordable hand sanitizer system that ensures that people sanitize their hand before entering into a given space. It's the first of its kind and the only sanitizing system with a security system in the whole world. So how does T3 function? What makes T3 special? T3 improves health by preventing the spread of diseases through microorganisms that might be available on our palm. Using this device, people reduce the spread of the virus and also improve their health, making sure that they always have clean hands. The device makes sure that you sanitize your hands, so you can't escape sanitizing your hand. You must have clean hands. That's what our device makes sure. Our target customers are schools, public spaces, restaurants, churches, and transportation stations. It's a device that makes sure that people sanitize their hands in given spaces. So we are targeting places that have frequent occurrence of people or where people gather at a large number. Our business model is the renting of T3, making sure that businesses that host events can rent our devices during the events. They don't have to buy a new device if they don't have to necessarily have a T3. You can actually buy a T3 and keep it at your office, at your house, so many other places. Repairs and sales of the hand sanitizer system is one of the ways that we're also going to be generating revenue. We plan to partner with government organizations, campaigns, and pre-orders to make sure that we're able to acquire customers and this is our go-to-market plan, obviously. Why us? We are cheaper than already existing products and we are safer because we ensure that people sanitize their hand way more reliable than the already existing hand sanitizer systems in the market because it's locally made and it's strong and durable. T3 has a 12 volts power battery source, a 1 liter storage, and which can be increased depending on how the customer wants it. It's the first automated hand sanitizer security system that ensures that people sanitize their hand. We have made different models. These models have been the ones with security system and without the security system that ensures that people sanitize their hand. One of the models that we made is just a simple hand sanitizer dispenser with no security system. The other models, like this one, has a security system with a beep system. But I am going to show you a video right now that is going to show you our latest design that has a security system, an alert system, and also a dispensing system. So this is cheap and affordable. So you're going to see the video right now. So we did design the third prototype of our device that picks up the human hand using ultrasonic sensors that make sure that it releases the sanitizer when it says your hand is below, and it ejects the sanitizer system, opening and closing the gate once you pass through the gate. So this is designed to make sure you don't pass, and it makes sure that you pay attention that there is something there. So let's say you pass through without sanitizing, it beeps to allow you to go back and sanitize. So once you're done sanitizing, you pass through and the gates close. So this is to make sure everyone sanitizes. The amazing team, thank you for if you watched the video, I hope you liked it. The amazing team behind this project are two major engineers, which is myself, Stanley Aniwog, the CEO of Atec Technologies and award-winning creative technologies. I've been recognized by Google, Johnson & Johnson, Fallen Walls of Berlin, and so many competitions I wish I could mention, but it's no problem. Havni Faisal is our chief engineer, also based, is a Moroccan engineer, and myself. We have won so many competitions, but this is one of the ones that means a lot to us. The Prevention Challenge winners in 2020 COVID-19 challenge that was hosted by Amazon, Prep, and so many other organizations, even involving Google. T3 came second position in this competition. We also currently and recently won Engineering for Nigeria, the first of its kind in the whole world, the whole of Africa. We came first position. I wish I could add that, but I didn't have much time to do that. We hope to have a 500,000 naira kickstart to start the sales of device and increase our production. We seek for mentorship and experts in the financial sector to help in the growth of the business. So I believe that you know how T3 functions, and we believe that T3 can change the world, and T3 should be at every door to create clean hands, one door at a time. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Project T3. So we'd like to take reactions from the panelists. Any advice you want to give him? Anything that he needs to look out for? Anything?
Okay, is he listening?
Yeah, so he's watching via YouTube.
Oh, okay.
He's not,
all right.
he couldn't get a flight down to Lagos. He's not based in Lagos. So he's watching via YouTube. Whatever you say, he will pick it up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
All right, he's in an interesting space. Hardware, is a bit challenging, even for a lot of investors. But I like the fact that he's able to creatively, do this. And so there are a couple of ways that, I like what he has done, and I like the fact that, he has other similar products. So I like to meet him in person. First and foremost, be able to feature him on Tech Trends on Channels Television, and then also try to put him in touch with one or two hardware incubators. Because, for example, as a VC fund, we don't do hardware, right? But I know hardware is so important, right? I know it's so important for our economy, but it's just that the challenges around hardware is interesting. But I like the guy. I like to see how to support him. So Tifri, if you can hear me, well done.
Thank you.
Okay, that was an innovative one. It's a very good idea. However, my concerns are post-pandemic. What will be the market for this this device, right? Because the target market from the pitch is events, people holding events, conferences, the halls, and then they even get the opportunity to rent it, rather than buy it. So that questions how big the market is, how many of these devices will it be able to sell, within a pandemic and after the pandemic, when people forget that, oh yeah, we need to sanitize our hands, because the pandemic is not forever. So I think my only question and concern is around the market size, basically. But it's a good idea all the same.
Thank you very much. I'd like to say thank you so much to all our panelists, to all those who gave pitches today. I'll call Sheun Adera, the head of Covenant Capital, for a few announcements before we announce those that will be shortlisting for the mentorship. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again. So in the course of planning for this event, we reached out to some people who are also church members. One of them was University. University trains developers. I don't know if anybody knows University. Okay. So they graciously agreed to give us 3 scholarships for people who would study data science with Python, front-end with React, product design, Python Django for back end. So we decided to pitch that to members of Covenant Connect, and there are 3 people that I'll call out who are the recipients of the courses. It's for 3 months. Wycliffe Oluwole, if you're here. Okere Emeka. Just come forward. They just take a picture for the record. And Seredo Victoria Ibukun. Are you all here? Okay. You guys just come around. You are the 3 guys. So what will happen is after this, you can see any member of the team. Well, you've been talking to somebody in the team. So reach out to him. He will tell you the modalities for you to sign up and which particular courses you will be taking. Do we have the results now? I think I know who the winner will be, Sha. Okay, Buchi. She will do the announcements. So, one other announcement. We're supposed to have a networking session, and then there are exhibitors at the back, and then there is a cocktail behind us over there. Our guests, you will be going back into the lounge, but for everybody else that's here, you can go to the back. There is some cocktail and all those things. Thank you.
Okay, so while we just collate, I'll call Femi Darabidon. He's the assistant lead of Covenant Capital to give a vote of thanks before we call out the winners. Femi Darabidon. Please, can we come for him as he comes forward, please? He's done so much work today.
A journey of 1,000 miles starts with one and ends with one. So on this note, I would like to say a big thank you to everyone that has made this event a success, and start with our participants, for everyone that has registered and has made it a privilege to be part of this event, to all our speakers, our panelists, to all our keynote speakers, we say thank you. From Covenant Capital, which is the entrepreneurial arm of the Covenant Nation, we express our profound gratitude for this opportunity. We cannot say thank you enough, and we do not take this for granted. For the time spent, your resources, your knowledge sharing, and the insights. And we believe that this has been a good time out for a lot of people who are both here on site and also online. And we want to say a very big thank you. On behalf of the Covenant Nation, I also say thank you to everybody, all our speakers, our panelists. We say a big thank you to you. We hope that when we call next time, you will be here. Thank you very much, and God bless you, and God bless everybody. Thank you.
She's coming, she's coming.
Okay, so as we round off, we'll just mention the two shortlisted or pitches. I'm sure it's obvious the two that we'll pick today. So we had the first is Project T-Free. He had 188 points, and the second is Adera. They had 128 points. So we'll be reaching out to both. In fact, I've already seen different people that have told me, I want to talk to this person, I want to talk to this person. So we'll still separately, we'll still reach out to those people as well and make the connections. We really thank everyone who has been here today, spent time with us in the last few hours. So like mentioned, we have some tech stands here. They're exhibiting different products that they have and services. Please feel free to drop by any of the stands. We also have cocktails there, and we'll be doing some networking for the next, say, about 1 hour. So thank you so much for coming. Thank you for your time, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thank you.